working really hard to bring together thoughtful, provoking content and speakers that will advance your knowledge and inspire you along the way. I want to mention a few things about CASH and our impact. For anyone who doesn't know, CASH is a statewide nonprofit organization, and the CASH in our name stands for Creating Assets, Savings, and Hope. Our mission is to support the financial well-being of low and moderate income people in Maryland. To do this, CASH works closely with partners from across the state to deliver on this mission, and I'm so glad to see many of our friends and partners here today. This actually marks our 25th year providing services in Baltimore. And again, this is our 10th annual Financial Education Summit. CAS works in three distinct areas. First, we provide direct services such as free tax preparation, financial education, and financial coaching, and benefit screening. And then CASH also leads Bank on Maryland, which helps connect people to safe and affordable bank accounts. The second area of work is building the field through practitioner training and convenings, such as this one. CASH collaborates with local financial education coalitions and financial empowerment centers across the state. We also design curriculum and deliver training for nonprofits, government agencies, and community leaders. The third area of work is policy. CASH is deeply involved in policy work at the state level and sometimes federal too. Each year, we monitor over 150 bills, provide testimony, and bring people with lived experience to Annapolis to testify on bills that impact the financial health of all Marylanders. I'm excited to participate in today's Financial Education Summit and learn alongside you. In closing, I want to recognize and thank you for prioritizing this learning opportunity. I know very well that carving out time in your busy schedule for professional development is not always easy, but it's really necessary. The work you do to help people navigate an ever-changing landscape is really critical. I encourage you to engage with the content, ask questions, share ideas and resources, and soak up the inspiration. This work can be challenging, even frustrating sometimes. We hope that you will feel recharged and ready with new ideas after spending time with us at the summit. Welcome. Back to you, Veronica.
Thank you, Sarah. The Cash Campaign of Maryland has operated the Maryland Cash Academy, an online platform that offers free, fact-based financial education classes taught by its highly trained staff and network partners. The platform also works to communicate and connect people to a variety of financial capability services, such as free financial education, financial coaching, tax preparation, and benefit screening. Cash Academy centralizes classes, their information, provides easy registration, links to other services, and encourages participant feedback. Curriculum is drawn from accredited national sources and includes topics such as creating a budget, safe banking, building credit, reducing debt, and avoiding fees. The Cash Campaign of Maryland serves as a trade association for member organizations by amplifying their efforts and sharing best practices to promote prosperous communities across the state. Cash's partner program creates a voluntary network of partners who are dedicated to improving the economic advancement of Marylanders. This network increases the capacity of member organizations by elevating the best practices of service, as well as the elevation of the impact of these services. I would like to thank our partners who participate in Cash Academy and provide financial education and resources on multiple platforms. Now I'll turn it over to Sue Rogan in reference to the history of the summit.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's so great that you're here. It's exciting to see so many familiar names and faces and new friends that we don't know who are joining us today. Again, my name is Sue Rogan. I joined the Cash family in 2009 and have had a variety of different roles, including my current one, which is consulting as I navigate and enjoy semi-retirement. So it's exciting to be here with this field that just means so much to me throughout my career. We're so excited to celebrate 10 years of learning, sharing, and connecting. To start, if you don't mind, please put in the chat how many summits that you've attended. We'd love to see who's been with us along this way. We've got some twos. First time. Thank you very much, Sarah. First one. We've got some first ones. Yay. You're going to be very excited with this. 4, 3, question mark. Leslie, how many have I been? 6 to 7. Thank you so much for putting this in here. We have a lot of people who are joining us for the first time. That's awesome. Please spread the word and make sure you're coming back every year from now too. All right, thank you all so much for doing that. 10 years ago, we created this convening with really a simple but powerful purpose to bring financial educators together to learn from one another, to share effective tools and teaching strategies, and to stay current on research, best practices, and the expertise of leaders in the field. Through interactive presentations, plenary sessions, and small group workshops, the summit has focused on the two key questions you can see here on this slide. What does it take to provide high quality, engaging financial education for adults in Maryland? And what does it take for that education to lead to better outcomes for participants? For years, you heard from Sarah, we gathered in person in Howard County, building relationships and exchanging ideas face to face. You might even be able to see on the one image on the slide, it feels very old school these days. They're actually flip charts and markers. We had a lot of fun with those. During COVID, we transitioned to be online and have discovered since the added benefit of making the summit more accessible than ever before. Our topics have included, which you'll see on the next slide, all these different topics around personal finance. And we are always staying current on what is happening now. So you'll see that we've actually covered cryptocurrency, fintech. I love the one we had about adding Zing to financial education. So we're always looking for things that will really bring you the most impact. Our presenters, you can see on the next slide, have been very engaging and coming from a multitude of national, local, different organizations. Thank you. Experts in the field. We reach out to them, we connect with them to bring you the most current research and information that you need in the work that you're doing. Some of the comments that we've had from our participants, over 1,000 people have come to our summit. The comments have been very positive. Some I just wanted to share with you were very empowering and energizing summit. So even though you might be sitting somewhere, you are going to get some energy from attending today and tomorrow. Stimulating thoughts about financial education innovations. And one of my personal favorites, I got to learn about tools for financial education that are useful for my own life as well as educating my colleagues. Let's be real, we all need current and unbiased financial information. So it's great to be able to do this and share the information with everyone here today. 10 years later, we celebrate not only the milestone, but you all, the community of educators, partners, and leaders who continue to make this work possible and impactful. Thank you so much for being here today, and I'm going to turn it to Christina.
Thank you, Sue. Next slide. So as we get going, first, I want to thank Sue for the great history lesson and for sharing and for more information about the different topics and organizations that we worked with over the last 10 years. I'd like to take a moment to introduce your team for the summit. This year, we had a number of Cash Campaign staff come together to make the 10th Annual Financial Education Summit happen. Throughout the event, you're going to hear a chorus of voices, including Cash Leadership, so Robin McKinney, our CEO, and Sarah Johnson, our COO, as well as Veronica Purcell Crosby, Director of Financial Education and Capability, myself, Christina Figueroa, Program Manager for Financial Education and Capability, as well as Megan Bautista, who is the Senior Program Manager for Tax Education and Partnerships, and Sue Rogan, who you just heard speak and is currently consulting with Cash. Lona Muckle, our Senior Policy Associate, has been a real asset with everything technical and will be assisting with tech during this event. Next slide. As we move forward, we want to share some tech tips with you. So we want to make sure that you're aware that the summit is being recorded and that parts of the recording may be used in social media. If you feel comfortable doing so, please keep your camera on, but remain on mute. During the event, we will have the opportunity to participate in the chat as well as in the breakout rooms. We welcome you to ask any questions in the chat, but please note that most sessions will have a dedicated Q&A session or section at the end. And for those questions, it's best to put those questions in the chat as well. We will be pausing the recording during the Q&A sessions to preserve your privacy. So please don't add AI note takers to this meeting. Again, we want to make sure that everyone feels free and able to ask any questions they may have and take advantage of the wonderful speakers that we have here today to answer those questions. In a few minutes, we would like to give you all the opportunity to get to know your fellow participants and give us the opportunity to get to know a little bit about you. Next slide. So we would like to do a quick chat storm. So please, please, please do not click send. First, type your name, where you work, and why you are here today. And then in a second, I'm going to say the word go, and everyone will send it. But please hold on for a second. Don't press send yet. Just type your name, where you work, and why you are here today. All right, now press send. Go, press send. All right, so if you guys can look at that chat, we can see some of the wonderful folks that are joining us here today. So we have people from nonprofit organizations, we see community colleges, we see we see some financial institutions. And as you all if you want to take a moment, you could kind of look up here and see why they're here, right? So we're here looking to develop networks. We're here to learn things to help our clients. We're financial educators to different populations. So we have elementary schools, we have adults, and folks trying to learn more different tools that might be available and additional insights. So thank you all so much for being here and for joining us today. This really doesn't happen without all of you. So thank you again so much. And I am going to go ahead and pass the mic to my colleague, Megan.
Thank you, Christina, and good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We're so excited and truly honored to begin the summit and our program today with our keynote opening speakers, Pam Capalad and Dyalekt of Get Shameless. And I'm sure many of us on the call will remember Pam and Dyalekt from when they emceed the summit way back when in 2019. Oh my goodness. So much has happened since then. We've had a global pandemic, changing presidential administrations, and persistent economic uncertainty, to name a few things. And that's really why there's no better way than to set the tone for our summit than with these folks and this keynote today, which will show us how to, quote, heal our relationship with money. And I think we can all agree that healing our relationship with money is as relevant today as it was a decade ago, and it will be just as relevant and important throughout the next 10 as well. So with that, I'm going to share a little bit about our speakers who really need no introduction, but we're going to do it anyway. Pam Capalad is a CFP, a certified financial planner, and an AFC, an accredited financial counselor, and has been in financial services since 2008. Pam has been featured in the Washington Post, Teen Vogue, Huffington Post, Vice Magazine, and was named New York Magazine's Best of New York 2019. She was named one of Investment's new News 40 Under 40 in 2016, Financial Advisor Magazine's Young Advisors to Watch in 2019, received Jumpstart's 2022 Innovation in Financial Literacy Award, and AFCPE's Financial Planning Center of the Year Award in 2022. Pam is a Global Good Fund Fellow for the class of 2022 as well. Dyalekt has been a hip hop MC, theater maker, and educator for nearly 20 years. He's the director of pedagogy at Pockets Change, where he uses hip hop pedagogy to demystify personal finance and help students take control of their relationship with money. He is the recipient of Jumpstart's 2022 Innovation in Financial Literacy Award, and he's rocked, meaning performed, taught, and keynoted everywhere from conferences like AFCPE and Prosperity Now to stages like South by Southwest and the Oregon Shakespeare Festival to classrooms that range from Yale to your cousin's living room. And with that, I'm going to pass it from my living room to Dyalekt to lead us in an energizing icebreaker. Dyalekt and Pam, please take it away, and thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Megan. Always thank you for having us in community with y'all. We're super happy to be here. I love me some Maryland. I knew that we were really in Maryland, but folks, when I heard y'all talking about your state like it's a wizard, like real Marylanders, you pronounce it Maryland. I love it. I love that about y'all. And a big up to Cash Campaign. We've always been fans of y'all and the great work that you do. And like one of your co-founders, Uncle Johnny, we're going to make sure that we walk the line through this ring of fire because I know that these finances can hurt.
That's right.
That's a little music thing for y'all. So let's get grounded a little bit. I figured let's get grounded together. And I was thinking, Pam, to do that, why don't we try to breathe collectively? I know that we're in different places. So let's try to do a breathing thing. So first, I'm going to invite everyone. And if this is a little weird, feel free not to do it. But I'm going to invite everybody to take a deep breath and exhale with a ah. Okay, I'm going to count you in on 3. 1, 2, 3. Ah. Nice. Now let's take a deep breath and exhale with a little bit lower register. So 1, 2, 3. Ooh, I was feeling good in the chest. So now we're going to get a little bit deeper. I know y'all know this one. So we're going to take a deep breath and we're going to breathe in and it's going to be... Right?
Okay,
Y'all,
I'm ready. Okay.
y'all are ready? Wait. We should back up a little bit, right?
I can't actually do that.
No, we'll back up. So give me 2 minutes and I'll have y'all doing it, okay? Are you ready?
Okay.
So it's easy. We're going to do it saying one word. The word is basketball. On the count of 3, I'm going to ask you to say the word basketball. Yes, vibrational breathing for healing. That's exactly where we're going. And we're going to go even deeper. So on the count of 3, I would like everybody to say the word basketball. 1, 2, 3. Basketball. Woo. Now, you notice when you say the word basketball, you use these muscles. These muscles. So I want to really emphasize it one more time on the count of 3, saying basketball, really emphasizing the muscles. 1, 2, 3. Basketball. Woo. Yeah, no, it sounded good. You got it going on there. Now, we're going to go ahead towards the important part of it. You know, one of the difficulties with all of this stuff is that words kind of tend to get in the way. Words are actually one of the worst ways to communicate. If we speak different languages, you don't know what I mean. If we speak the same language, you don't know what I mean. I mean, if I asked everybody in here to write a love poem, we would write a million different poems, right? Where communication lies is in rhythm and tone. That's where we really get our point across. Even if you don't know my language, you hear me being loud and speaking fast, you probably know how I'm feeling. So we take the word out of basketball, and instead of saying basketball, we say cool? 1, 2, 3. And you're almost there. So that middle part, like you're scolding somebody, right? You take that part and we put it at the end, and this is how we got our beat. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Let's go. Thank you. Look at y'all, professional beatboxers already.
All in 2 minutes, everybody.
Just to be honest with you, I learned this, and then before I went out in public doing it, I spent a year at home practicing. So if anybody's like, oh, I'm still not good at it, yeah, of course, that's fine. Yeah. Keep on jamming, play your favorite songs, and try to replicate the drums that you hear. I bring these up, you know, they're good vibration. They're good ways to get in control of your community, the room, the group that you're with, to take care of yourself. But also, when it comes to the finances, our rhythms are our habits. The things that we do in repetition constantly are the ways that we live our life. If we have a better understanding of our rhythms and our habits, we're able to take a little bit more control over the things that happen and being able to move with the room when the rhythm, when the pace, when the vibe changes, so we can still get on in there, hold ourselves down, and hold it all together. I love it. Should we jump into the keynote or should we do the other movement thing? All right, Megan's already ready. So Megan's already ready. So next thing I want to do for my people is, I know we're in virtual land, so I would like to try to get a little bit of movement here. I was thinking of doing like a 2-step. We don't have to get up and do that. I would love to do some chair dancing. Yes. To the best of your ability, feel free to not turn on your camera if you would not like to be perceived in this way. But give me your best chair dance. Here, I'll give you a little music for it. Let me see. I'll do some reggae.
Yeah, Crystal. Yeah, Yolanda. Yeah, Hillary. Yeah, Dana. Yeah, Sarah.
Ow! Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. It's nice to get ourselves up and moving. Also, a good reminder that our fidgets are not bad things. I have no problems with the ums, buts, and uhs. We just need a little placeholder so we can continue being ourselves in the way that's comfortable. This money stuff is not comfortable. Money is not natural. It doesn't seem human and often can be confusing. Didn't mean for that to rhyme, but that happens sometimes. And it takes us out of our humanity a lot of times. And we feel like we've got to be a robot to be able to solve it. But I swear to y'all, being ourselves and sharing our humanity, including our foibles with each other, is how we're going to succeed.
Yes. Oh, from Megan. Yes to fidgets and not being bad. I can't promise I'm going to be chair dancing throughout the whole next 2 days. Glad this is a safe space for it. Zakia, I'm loving this and the explanation in between to connect it. Yes, 100, Hillary. Y'all are awesome. We're ready.
Yeah, no, we're ready to party.
Let's do this.
And as she's setting up, all of these things that are considered fidgets in your classrooms, the dancing, the doodling, these are ways that we express and ways that we learn. And it's important that we're able to maintain those things because that's how we're efficacious, to use a teacher term for what's going on.
Yes. Ooh, efficacious. So fancy.
You know me, I love a good fancy word.
All right, everybody. Hello. We're excited to take this off. Thank you again, Cash Campaign, for having us back a second time. I mentioned in the chat that the first time we were at Cash Campaign, I was pregnant. Mm-hmm. So now we have a whole 6-year-old.
And I'm like sad that we've missed so many in between. I'm not kidding when I talk about how big a fan I am of Cash Campaign and the work that y'all do. I was just at a fancy event in New York before I ran down here, and I was bragging about y'all.
Yeah. Ooh, I love it. All right, quick disclaimer. Please do not construe anything that we tell you today as financial advice. It is for educational purposes only. You probably all have your own disclaimers, same thing.
Yeah, just, being clear about how we don't know enough about your personal financial situation to give you accurate advice and don't want to do you dirty. And fine print, we want to call out, is often a way to obfuscate or make things more difficult, but here we try to use it to protect people.
Yes. All right, a little bit about us.
So we've talked about ourselves.
We got the bio for Megan.
We got the bio. Pam has run a number of businesses, including Pockets Change, Get Shameless, and she founded and ran Brunch and Budget for 10 years, which I was a big fan of, a place where people would break bread and get some food and talk about this uncomfortable financial stuff. What's funny about it is the business had to shut down because she created it to end it, because her whole idea was that she was going to give you the tools and let you go and move.
Yes. I love it. Oh, for Megan, I love the idea of fine print for protecting
consumers.
Right,
it can.
It can. It's true. All right, so we want to talk about Pocket Change a little bit because this is the bulk of our work now. This is a nonprofit where our mission is to use the arts, hip-hop, and neuroscience to uplift youth's lived experiences and hold space for joy and creative expression so they can grow in their financial journeys.
Basically, the quick thing about it is systemic oppression messes with your nervous system. When your nervous system is stressed out, that's why you're not hitting your savings goals. It's not because you're not financially literate. In fact, we don't even really love the term financial literacy because what it implies that what we can't read money.
Yeah.
No, we just don't have access. We provide curriculum, development, teacher trainings, direct service to schools, teachers, families, and we have a song contest called the Hip Hop Fin Fest, where we invite students ages 12 to 19 to write a rap song about their feelings around money. We have hip hop legends judging it and business professionals, a $1,000 grand prize, and every finalist gets about $1,300 worth of Sony studio equipment that we put in a backpack for them to go and continue their career. Our current reigning champion is a gentleman from Far Rockaway, Queens, Dyalekt. He actually just changed his name. He's not that one anymore. Great guy. It's our first song that's all in Spanish. We've gotten a few submissions, but have yet to get a winner.
That's right.
From the state of Maryland with all of y'all creative talent. So
and
I'm just
saying.
saying.
For the winner, $1,000 grand prize, free trip to New York, all of that good stuff.
So performances, all kind of stuff. So if you work with any youth that have an idea that they would like to put to music, whether or not they have any experience, please share that and please connect with me because I'd be happy to help y'all along your journey in getting that together.
Yes, love it. Oh yeah, more stuff about us.
Yeah, well, this says a lot of the stuff that we say. And, I was just talking about this in my last workshop that I was doing about how I hate this slide. I don't like we're just meeting y'all and talking, and then here comes like a brag about all the stuff. And this is the thing that I found. If you want people to trust you and believe in the stuff that you're saying, it really helps if the big fancy companies have said nice things about you, even if, and kind of especially if, they're companies you don't agree with. Ones that you think made the world worse, ones that have different philosophies, ones that you think don't represent you. Please share all your accolades and awards. It's going to get folks to listen to you.
Yes, love it. So why should we talk about money?
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
I would love to open up chat for y'all if you could share y'all thoughts on why we should talk about money. One of my favorite things, so as y'all are throwing in some chats, this is a real word cloud that we made with teachers and students all around the country. And one of them, if you look right here, it's like in the bottom, I think it's like bottom right. It says, the left here, spend responsively. And we talked to the student and we were like, why does it say you mean spend responsibly? He said, no, I don't know what responsibly is. I want to spend in response to the stimuli around me. And we're like, okay.
Wow, that's really insightful. I don't know that,
That's a
actually.
thought. Any thoughts from y'all why you think it's important for us to talk about money? Feel free to throw in the chat. Also, if you would feel more comfortable unmuting, and then feel free to unmute
Please
and just shout it
unmute.
out.
Cash rules everything around me.
And
Listen.
get the money, dollar bill, y'all. No, for real, for
Thank you,
real.
thank you.
Yeah, no, I love that.
That's true. That's
Bringing
true.
it back to New York. Hey.
All true.
Oh.
From Hillary, we can know we aren't alone in our struggles.
Yes.
Yeah, if we struggle.
I love that.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. One of the stats that we share with folks is that we found that parents would rather talk to their kids about sex, drugs, or terrorism than talk about money.
It's so wild,
Yeah.
right? Because I don't want to have any of those conversations. I see lots of really good stuff. By the way, Hillary, that If We Struggles, I want to start a punk band with you called that. I think it's such a great
Yes.
title. From
Denise.
Nice, We Needed to Live. It's a part of every aspect of our lives to learn more financial knowledge and avoid struggles when possible. Yolanda, Better Decision Making. From Leslie, Reduce Stigma and Share Knowledge. From Dr. Keith, Security. From Zakia, we should talk about money because we see it as a means of currency, right?
Meredith, money can't buy you love, but love doesn't pay the rent.
Right? J-Lo talking about love don't cost a
Yes.
thing, but her apartment does. Find out how to keep it and make more. Lots of fear around
Get the
it.
money straight, then life can be so much easier to lessen the stress around money. Wow, these are fantastic.
I love these. Financial security makes you happy. Yes, studies have shown that money
can buy happiness.
can buy happiness. I've made a song about it. We put it
Yeah.
together, all that. I love that. I think we should talk about money because of this. I don't know if y'all are familiar with this application on the interwebs. It's Tinder, right? It's Tinder. It's the dating
I've
profile.
never seen it,
No,
but-
I've never seen it. I don't know nothing about that. I only meet people at the library. Right?
That's right.
Well, this is a real Tinder profile, and I think that it matters because it's talking about our money stuff. Like, it has social things like must be 5'10" or taller to ride. So, like, sorry, short kings, we're out the game with this person. But y'all see the second thing?
The second thing.
Credit score 700 plus.
Or you can't even talk to her. Don't even message her.
Yeah, I'm not going to go to coffee with you.
Yeah.
If you don't have. And hey, look, I remember no romance without finance. Gotta have a J-O-B if you want to be with me. That's a real thing. Ooh, this is another
Cuts
good.
down on the competition.
Right. Also shouting out Rose here to have a goal of retirement that increases the comfort of all the work we've done throughout our lives, especially since we give up time with family, friends, etc. Yes. Yeah, no, the no rent was it? Ain't nothing going on but the rent. That was the thing. And I get that, but like credit score is not exactly about finance.
No, it's not how much money you have. Are you responsible with paying the rent? Your credit score doesn't tell you that, right? We know that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it will tell you if you're not. Right?
Yeah, right.
That's the thing of it. And like I understand you don't want to get put in a difficult situation. What's wild about it to me is that this is really new. Feel free to throw in the chat if you have a guess. It's okay if you don't, because a lot of people don't. But there is a current touring pop star who is the exact same age as our modern credit reporting system.
She's a big one, like the biggest.
You already gendered it there. So
yes.
So we know it's not.
It's a lady.
It's not Usher.
No.
Any thoughts of what
Does
current
anyone help?
touring pop star? Beyonce we
Beyonce.
got.
Oh,
That's a
good
good guess.
guess.
That's a good
Good
guess.
guess.
It's pretty close.
Yeah.
Right. Ah, you got it.
Cardi. Taylor Swift. Oh, Tony.
You got
Tony
it.
got it.
I love lots of Cardis.
Is she currently touring? She must be.
Yeah. I think actually because I think Taylor actually just came off.
Oh,
tour,
Taylor
but-
just finished.
Yeah,
Thank
she
you,
just
Megan.
finished tour. I'm not tracking the
That's what I
tours
was
super
gonna say,
accurately, but she tours a lot.
Yes, 1989, her famous album, same age as the modern credit scoring system.
That's so wild.
I am older than the modern credit scoring system, and now it's become a character trait that's required for dating.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, bananas, right? So when we think about our finances and we think about money and we put so much weight and stress and shame and blame around it, I want you to remember that the system hasn't existed for that long.
This is brand new. And just to be fair, it's not like there was a better system that we replaced with a bad one. It
this
was
was
actually
the
much
best.
worse
Yeah.
for that. So we're happy that, we got Swiftied into it. The big thing that we want folks to know and think about, I love this. It really stinks because people are so much more than their credit score. I love
Yes,
that.
and the system is not consumer friendly. Thank y'all. It's so true. Even just hearing all your comments is this perfect reminder. You're not wrong, you're not a fool, and you're not alone. We want you and all your clients to feel like that.
That's the thing. Like, people have this idea that we don't have our money stuff together because we don't know enough or we don't care enough. But really, it's often that we feel like we're wrong about our finances. We're all told we make financial mistakes. And I'm like, how do you make a financial mistake when no one ever gave us the rule book? We think that we're not smart enough. I think that's where the financial literacy of it all, right, comes in. And also, when we make financial mistakes, we think we're the only person who made the silly mistake, who's not smart enough to do it. And we're isolated. We don't talk to each other. And when we don't talk to each other, we get taken advantage of.
Yes. Oh, from Rose, sometimes you have to teach the person you want when they open up, becoming so vulnerable.
Yeah, just thank you for teeing us up. This is what we're trying to do here today, is to bring some vulnerability into our work. Our feelings matter so much around money because if we don't understand them and deal with them, they will dictate our actions.
Yes, exactly. In that vein, we love this picture because it's a reminder that puppies and kitties exist. And we also implore you to find a money buddy. And this is something that we encourage our clients and our participants to do, and we encourage you to do. We already talked about why we should talk about money. We already talked about how parents are so afraid to talk to their kids about money. They'd rather talk about sex and drugs. And that money feels like the last taboo. And the goal is to make us feel isolated with our money.
Yeah, there's contracts that say you can't talk about your salary. I know people are trying to deal with that. Even, I've worked as a musician for over 20 years as well as being an educator. Actually, that bio's outdated. I'm over 20 years at this point. But I remember when I threw a party in Manhattan and I would make them $10,000 to $20,000 in a night. And they'd pay me at best $500. And when I complained about it, they said, don't talk to the other musicians because they'll steal your gig. And out of fear, I didn't talk to them. I took the gig until I got worn out, burnt out, and I quit and let someone else get taken advantage of.
That's right. They wanted you to feel like you're in competition.
Yeah, when all of us could have been doing better if we talked to each other. I know that in your work, sometimes you're competing for scholarships or placements or even jobs, grants, but that doesn't mean that your peers are your enemy. And the more that you talk to each other, the more you're going to be able to help each other out.
Yes. So we'd love for you to share in the chat. If money was a person in your life, what would your relationship be?
As they're starting to write, can I ask you to put you on the spot? I don't know if you thought about it. What would your relationship be with if money was a...
Oh, Veronica, love-hate.
Oh, I love that.
Already there.
We got to get the rings out, right?
Already
Do the
there.
right thing.
I feel like that my relationship with my money is like a very strict teacher who's always grading me.
I can picture that.
Yeah.
I love Gladys's. Okay.
Yeah. A casual friend. Oh, casual friends. A situationship.
Situationship. That sounds right.
It's complicated.
You can't get them to commit.
Kind. Like my cool auntie that's focused on healing my inner child. Oh, wow, that's so lovely. Frenemy from Lydia. On off again friends. Complicated. Ghoster. Oh, that's a good one. Frenemies. Yeah, I really like the love-hate. Yep. Priest in confessional.
Wow. I mean, money stuff makes you, as we're talking about being vulnerable, it does make you be honest with yourself at the very least.
Oh, from Sue, different people over the years. Finally, a calm, reassuring friend. Oh, that's so nice. Talk about healing your relationship. Money is a resource. It would be like a relationship with toast. It's totally consumable. Oh, I guess I would be taking advantage.
Wow. I love that. I love that perspective.
Yes, it would be like a relationship with toast. That's good.
And
Solid
consumable.
And
That's a great point and a great way to think about it.
Yes, my mama, because she's my little friend now. Oh, my partner. Oh, these are so great.
I love these. And I love when we have positive relationships with money. And hey, I also have love for my people who have relationships with money that are uncomfortable. Because sometimes that is the case, and a lot of our clients and the people we work with. But that doesn't mean that that's it. Yeah. And that's the end. So many of our people's in bad relationships are like, I can't see my way out of it. And with finances, I think it's even worse than our dating or friend type relationships. Yeah. But when we're in a harmful relationship, we don't even know what the mechanisms are to get us out of it.
Right, exactly. And it doesn't feel like it's a resource. It feels like it's something that's a burden on us,
I didn't like budgeting because budgeting felt like a restriction.
Yeah, there you go.
Stopping me from being me.
Yes, thank you. A roller coaster ride.
I love that, Lamont.
Yes.
Yes, I'm with you, Rocky. Yeah, I know.
Rocky but progressive. Oh, these are so good.
And shout out to Veronica. My I think most popular song that I put out is one that I truly believe in. Is "You Got to Preach to the Choir so they know what to sing."
That's why we're here. All right.
So now let's get rockily progressive here.
Yes. We are going to take a little quiz, y'all.
It's a 2-question quiz. Don't worry.
It's a 2-question quiz. It's a money personality quiz. Here we go. quick money quiz. We'd love for you to put in the chat what your answers are for 1 and 2. Question 1 is which phrase you relate to more?
Is it A, I think about what I have in the bank right now. It's not real until it's in my account.
Or B, I'm usually spending the next check in my head before it hits my account.
And for question 2, which phrase you relate to more? A, I tend to plan ahead. Or B,
I tend to deal with things as they come.
Yeah, so you're going to be A, B, B, A, or B, B.
Depends. Literally both. The way I like to think of this if you're having trouble is like when you feel stressed, how would you answer this question? Are you checking your bank account and you're like, oh, that check is coming so then I can take care of the thing I'm stressed about? Oh, these are great. I love it.
He stresses A, gotcha.
Yes. Stress will usually tell you what your tendencies are. Doing A right now. Checking that bank account balance. Or planning ahead. B, I try A, then B just comes along.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Yeah, a lot of these, our intent may go one way, but our instinct calls you a next way.
Neither. I'm already planning ahead. There's a super
complicated. We can just get into it. We can start saying it. I see you're like try not to spoil it. I think we got most of them. If you're still guessing, come on, let us know. But I think let's share our answer key.
Let's share our answer key.
These are our money personalities.
These are our money personalities. Yes. And the thing I love about money personalities is there's only 4 of them. So if you've ever felt like you were the only one that dealt with money the way you dealt with money, you're not.
And the thing about it, this isn't like an Enneagram or like the Hogwarts thing. It's not the be-all, end-all of who you are. No. This is a measurement of your tendencies. This is a measurement of, I like to call it your armor that you put on to deal with the often unfair and harmful financial world.
Try to put my money on assignment.
I hear that. That makes sense as a B and A. Yep.
Nice. So I'm a Gryffindor paper chaser. I love it. Yes, combine them. So if you answered A for 1 and A for 2, you might be a complicator. If you answered A for 1 and B for 2, you might be a contemplator. If you answered B for 1 and A for 2, you might be a paper chaser. And if you answered B for 1 and B for 2, you might be a money monk.
Let's take a quick minute to talk about it.
Each of these.
By the way, if you go to getshameless.com/workbooks, that Pam is putting in the chat, we have workbooks that are around 50 pages long. Lots of info.
So super in depth about your money personality.
We have them in different pop culture foursomes. All of them have the same info. There's like The Wiz and Ninja Turtles and the Golden Girls, and also
Megan's favorite show.
Right now, this is popping, right? So we figured we'd pull up Alan.
Yes, so if you are a complicator, you might be a Janine. Hi, everyone. I'm a Janine. So the thing about complicators is we love to plan. We're already planning. As who said that? That was so great. I felt that. I'm already planning ahead, Rose. Me too. So we have a plan for everything. We have plans for our plans. We have backup plans for our backup plans. We're so great at what-if scenarios. We love setting goals. We love budgeting.
I plan to be spontaneous.
Thank you, Trisha. I feel seen. Exactly. That's the only way.
That's true. She does.
Yes, we have a strong attention to detail. We have spreadsheets for our spreadsheets. We are the ones that love to optimize everything. If I need to buy a new dishwasher or air fryer or hairbrush, I am going on, looking at the best of list, making sure that I do all the research. But also...
After 6 weeks, she still hasn't bought the hairbrush.
Yeah, it's so true. Doing too much. We are easily overwhelmed because, especially when complicators feel stressed, we feel like we need to make everything a priority. Thank you, Veronica, Consumer Report. Oh my gosh. But I don't want to pay for it, right? Because I'm a complicator. I'm like, how can I get this for free? And how can I find a coupon? I will search for an hour to find a $5 off coupon before I buy anything online. We are so good at what-if scenarios that we always go to the worst case scenario and we think that's going to happen and that's what we plan for. Yes, say hello to Janine. This is definitely me. Yes. Public library. Thank you, Claire. I love it. Yes. All of my complicators in the room. The thing about being a complicator, though, is that for me, money equals safety. So more money equals more safety, right? That's the logical conclusion. And so what ends up happening is that it never feels like there's enough. And so one thing that I've had to ask myself as a complicator is how much is enough and what can I let go of?
Yeah, that's big. Like for complicators, we invite y'all to try to let go of something because the tighter fist that you have, the more stressful and the less you're likely to get done. What if you took one of your bills and auto-paid it?
Yeah.
Just one. I'm
a recovering complicator. I have now taken all of my bills and auto-paid them because I do check my bank account balance every day, so I know the money's going to be in there, right? That was my big fear, was they would take money and the money's not in there. I love this from Rose. Reading reviews, good and bad ones, and then make my decision on my choice anyway. I've also done that.
Yeah, you always want to get the consensus.
Exactly.
So if you answered A for 1 and B for 2, you might be a contemplator. And contemplator is very similar to the complicator. They're thinking about money, except instead of having it in spreadsheets, they got it in their head.
Because they also hate thinking about money and would rather do anything else but think about
Anything
money.
else. So the contemplator is the one where they're like, I know the bills come on the 1st, but they're not due until the 7th, and they're not late until like the 15th, and like, it's the middle of winter, they're not going to cut off my power and all that, right?
Of course not.
The contemplator, I know this sounds like an irresponsible and wrong money personality, but when the complicator is freaking out because the plan has hit the fan,
All the plans.
that's when the contemplator steps into action. They know how to improv and superhero their way out of a tight situation. In fact, I often say that the contemplators are like that friend of yours who dates the wrong people, so they can make a poem or a song or a painting about it. Contemplators will put themselves in a disadvantageous position so they can superhero their way up out of it and look really cool.
If this isn't you, you may know somebody who is a contemplator in your life. That's what's so fun about these money personalities. You start to think like, wait, what's my partner's money personality? What's my mom's money personality? My mom's also complicated, by the way.
The thing with our contemplators is we also want to find a way for them to automate.
Yes.
But for a different reason. Instead of losing control, we want to make sure that you maintain solvency. Can you put your credit card minimums on autopay? That way you can go have your long walks on the beach, you can go travel the world, have dinner with your friends and all that stuff, and still know that you're taken care of.
Yes. The other thing about contemplators that I want you to note is that contemplators tend to have a shorter threshold for thinking about money than, let's say, complicators. I see a lot of complicators in the chat. A lot of people go into this work are complicators who are like, yes, I totally get money, right? And I can think about money all day. I can talk about it all day. With contemplators, a lot of contemplators, because they don't like to think about money, they'll set aside like 5 hours in one day to think about it. And that's actually miserable for contemplators. We recommend that you set aside 15, 20, 45 minutes to do a few tasks and then allow yourself to move on and then do it again the next week.
Yeah, really, outside of complicators, everybody figure out your threshold around money. I'm a money monk. We'll get to that. Mine is about 45 minutes. I can talk to y'all all day long, but about my own stuff, after 45 minutes,
my husband,
I glaze
Renee,
over.
calling out her husband.
Yes.
Oh, and Renee, all of Renee's bills are auto pay, but I still have to make sure there's money in the account to pay them. Yes.
You will find that oftentimes
Yes.
money personalities are opposite, and that's why they're so complimentary.
Yes, exactly.
It's also why you'll have that argument about money stuff and be like, why don't you get it? Why don't you get it?
That's right. That's right. I love it. If you answered B for 1 and A for 2, you might be a paper chaser. You might be an Ava. And Ava's definitely a paper chaser if you know the show.
Well, to even jump off, the favorite thing about paper chasers is paper chasers often get stuff for free. Like Ava will just get stuff like that.
Just get stuff for free.
Every paper chaser I know is like that.
There's so many jokes about her getting stuff for free. Ava's the GOAT. Megan, are you an Ava? Paper chaser's solution to their money problems, just like Ava's, is I'll just make more money and it will solve all my problems, right?
Right.
Paper chasers are so great at spotting opportunities, so great at making money. Their solution, if they want something or need something, and I'm going to call out our executive director, who's a paper chaser. She had 4 jobs in college, and she found out she needed to pay like some extra tuition or like a bill that she had missed. And instead of saving up the money from the 4 jobs, she got a 5th job.
Yeah, and I want to say that paper chasers, I think there's a misconception that they're greedy.
Yeah,
Because they're
not
always
at all.
talking and thinking about money. It's not that they're greedy, it's that they're the inventors. They're the innovators. When the pandemic happened, they were the ones who were like, I can sew. I'm gonna make some masks and help people out with them. Also, paper chasers, y'all are the ones who are more likely to get caught up in scams. Not because you're not smart, but because you're moving really fast. In the pandemic, when the Blessing Loan scam came around, my paper chasers were really caught up in it because they didn't want to get left out of the equation. Thing with paper chasers is they'll look at $500 in a savings account and be like, that's being wasted. I could take that money and go take a course, or I could buy a product and flip it, or I could level up my skill in some kind of way. I could invest it. I got to do something with this money. And sometimes that leaves you without anything to take care of yourself.
Yes. So what we recommend for paper chasers is to figure out how to pay yourself first. And that is in the form of making sure you have some kind of savings. But your savings is not just a pile of money. We also want you to shift your thinking and think of your savings as another stream of income that you can tap into when you need to.
I love this, but Hillary
I love these back and forths. Hillary, isn't Ava exhausted? That's so funny because I feel the same way as a complicator, but I saw Megan. Money is energizing. Never. Paper chasers do not ever seem exhausted. Zakia, no, literally. I had 3 jobs, but I love budgeting, keeping the money flowing. Yes.
And we love keeping the money flowing.
Hillary.
Yeah, I love the many paper chasers she works with.
Yep.
This is the thing. We want y'all to be able to live the lives that you want to live, and paper chasers are often beholden to the next gig.
Yes.
To the funder, to things like that. I think about M. Night Shyamalan. You remember that director? He had some big hits in the 90s, right? And then he had some flops in the 2000s, and people stopped checking for him. So he sold his house and made a movie with his own money, and it made money, so he made a movie with that money, and now he doesn't care about getting a grant, about critics, or even about
producers.
or
He
he doesn't care if we like it. I saw his last movie, he put his daughter, not an actor, daughter, in like half the movie, just because he was like, yeah, baby, come on. And I want that for all of y'all. Nepotism for everyone.
Yes, paper chasers. And if you answered B for 1 and B for 2, you might be a money monk.
Yes. Many of our arts and arts educators, I moved past it, are money monks. I didn't realize you already clicked it. Mr. Johnson, as you know, is a money monk. He's working there. He's already had many lives, done wild stuff. He's like, I'm working here because this is a chill place to be around some people I like.
Yeah, that's right.
See, the thing about money monks, it's not that we don't like money. It's that we think of money as a thing. Like, what was his name? Cat Williams. Cat Williams used to say, it's not my money. It's the money. I'm just in control of where it goes next. As money monks, when we have a lot of money, we're very generous. And when we don't have a lot of money...
You're very generous.
Yeah, but that's not a bad thing. I like that about us, and I think that that's a good way to go. The thing about money monks, and this seeps into everybody's stuff, so everybody get down with this too, is that as a money monk, I will often take less money than my work is worth. And not that, I'm worth, not that we're worth money, right? We're limitless and all that stuff. But our work is worth money. And what I found is that when you take less money than your work is worth, you don't just get less money. You get less respect. You're less likely to be asked back. When I've done, and I've told you, I've been in many different industries. When I've done my full rate, I get the green room with the green M&Ms. They got somebody ready to sign the contract for next year on the table. The news media is ready to do an interview with me. When I have done the super 99% discount for the organization that had Michael McDonald at their gala, y'all got money. I drove 3 hours to the spot, showed up, and I was like, yo, Mike sent me over here. And they said, Mike quit last week. What are you talking about? I was wasting my time. How many times, money monks, really, you've gone to do the gig, you've gone to help the people, you've gone to make it happen, and it doesn't happen, or it doesn't happen well. It's not a good portfolio piece. The people aren't happy, and you didn't get paid enough.
No, look at Hillary. I think I used to be that and broke. LOL.
Same.
Yeah.
I was that and broke. One of the things when we talk about budgeting is making sure that we make a budget for the help that we give. I have a budget for giving out dollars on the street because I will give out every single one until I don't have it anymore. And then I'm not helping anybody. To make sure that we are members of our community, not saviors of our community, and to be present in this space.
Yes. Wow. Budgeting the help we give is a really powerful concept. Yes.
Dude,
Thank you, Megan.
it's so powerful important. Like, we could do a whole talk about that if we would just want to have people come in and be like, oh, I help too much and I don't know how to get help. Oof.
Yes. So our money monks.
A big thing. Well, yeah, we can move on to the next part. Just a big thing about these money personalities is they often are a measurement of the traumas that we endure. And again, these are things that we don't share and aren't vulnerable about because we've been shown that sharing your trauma is weakness.
Yes.
And I want to remind you all that these things that cause who we are don't make us wrong, stupid, or broken. It makes us people.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like y'all have been sharing this in the chat already, but if it helps to share what surprised you about your money personality and what didn't surprise you one bit.
Also, again, if y'all are just feeling like it's there in your chest and not in your fingertips, feel free to unmute and say stuff.
Yes. Love it. I grew up in scarcity, and it's just in my 60s. I can buy a 24-pack of toilet paper.
Oh,
wow.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for sharing that.
I'm gonna put my wife on Front Street. She moved to New York from California, and when winter came, instead of buying a winter coat, she wore 5 light jackets all on top of each other.
I didn't want to buy the winter coat.
Oh,
Renee, I'm a Janine in my personal life, but a money monk with my nonprofit. Oh, that's good. That's really insightful.
yeah.
Can I come off mute?
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
Hey.
please.
I just wanted to say something. As we were doing the personality test, I just love the fact that we're mixing this with real life implications and, things in their emotional standpoint of people. Because being a young person, when you guys were like, yeah, the money chasers happened to get scammed, I was like, oh my goodness, like, do you guys have security around here? Like, that happened to me twice. And no one believed me when I told them. And I was like, yeah, no, this actually happened. But I feel like I kind of had like an in-between personality because as much as I do love, shopping and getting things, I make sure that the money's there before I do so. But I will splurge and I'll be like, oh my goodness. And having these conversations, I feel like I agree with you guys completely, really do help people feel more normalized in what happened because a lot of people end up in disadvantaged situations because they don't talk about what happens.
Yes,
100%.
exactly.
Thank you so much for that.
Sharing
Thank you for sharing that.
I feel like being able to laugh about your money personality, being able to relate to other people and see you're not the only one is so important.
It's one of the reasons why I like that it's just 4 because you fit into these quadrants. And mind you, all of us are a little bit leaning in one. We kind of think of it as a feelings matrix. You might be leaning towards one direction and all that.
Yes, thank you. And from Rose, my plan is in my head and I easily pivot depending on the situation because I have my partner to also think about in the decisions he makes as well. I don't fit in any one category. I adapt. I love to make money and I work to help people see everyone succeed. I also had to make sure I told myself it's okay to go for my worth. I meditate and breathe and use reflection methods to not be overwhelmed and stressed with my decisions. Thank you, Rose. That's beautiful.
One thing I really love about money personalities is I can tell your money personality just from your writing style. Just the way that things are organized and structured, right? And when the punchlines come in.
Yes, from Sarah. It can be situational. When I'm ready to vacation, I'm no longer a monk.
That's right.
Yeah, Hillary, each one has its positive. That's right. Yep. Megan, I feel like I'm on a spectrum of Janine to Ava. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, I got you.
So much of how I respond to this depends on where I'm at in my financial day. Yeah, exactly. And let's talk about that. So thank you all so much for sharing. And we want to share this interpersonal neurobiology concept that is related to your money personality called disorder versus adaptation. In other words, your body is smart as hell at doing everything it can to protect you from capitalism.
Again, people love to say I made money mistakes or I'm not good at this or I don't know. We often think that we're disordered around our money, that there's something. Shout out to our
acknowledge our
teachers,
interpersonal neurobiology teachers who have to remain anonymous for this transformative information, and anything in italics is a direct quote from them.
So again, these disorders, right? It's something that's inherently wrong. Something that
needs to be fixed, right? When you try to fix your money, you're telling yourself, I'm doing it wrong, right? It's bad. I did the wrong thing. I've made so many financial mistakes. I'm so bad with money. Why can't I just get my money together? I should have known better. We've all told ourselves these things. We've all heard these things from our clients.
I had a 6-year-old come to a class and say, are we talking about money? I'm so bad at money.
She was
like, baby, what do you mean?
She was 6.
But really, this stuff starts getting in our brains at 7 months in the womb and starts showing up around 6 or 7.
Yes, exactly. So what if instead your relationship with money was not a disorder, but an adaptation?
I love reading this quote from our teachers. I have a wise system at every level that is always doing the best it can to help me survive and thrive given my neurobiological patterns / constraints and level of interpersonal support. In other words, we're doing the best we can.
And you always are at all times, depending on your situation.
And we'll do it better if we do it together.
Yeah. So what if instead of you're so bad at money, dealing with money makes you anxious, so your system shuts down to protect you when you have to think about it?
Right.
Or maybe you've had a number of bad financial experiences and have a hard time imagining what a good financial experience can look like. Or maybe you have more than your parents have ever had, so you want to be grateful for whatever you get.
That's why I think a lot of times we accept things that are not worth our work. Just be like, I remember my mom, she, as an artist, right? Someone who considers herself an artist I have many talented family members who never got to call themselves artists. And just having that feels like such a privilege. I should just take whatever I get.
Yeah, so true. So the good news about these adaptations is as you start to acknowledge them and forgive yourself and thank your adaptations for getting you this far, because that's really what it is. Your adaptations are saying, I need to protect you. I need you to survive, right? And as you start to resolve these implicit pains and fears, these protections will actually shift and adapt and find present-oriented ways to express as well. So when you feel seen and heard, you can go back and face that banker or that financial institution or fill out that form. You can really believe that your net worth does not equal your self-worth.
Even though that's much easier to say than to believe, but we still got to say it so we can feel it. And the last one, I give myself permission to not be perfect in my financial life. That one really matters a lot to me because you know who already does that?
Rich people.
And it's not a bad thing. I don't think that it's bad that rich people do that. They have the F up nights where they're like, oh, I screwed up and I lost all this money and then I built this other thing. I want us to feel like we have opportunities as well, because so many of us are like, look, one and done. If you don't make it, if you don't do it, then you've got no other chances.
Right. It feels like you have to be perfect, and you don't.
Yeah, the chances are there. It's just that we have to create them for ourselves and for our community.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing about money personalities is they're protective adaptations. They're the armor that we put on against a financial system that is designed for us to fail. Your body does not care if you need to do XYZ or optimize your finances. If you don't feel safe, your body's going to shut it down.
For my grown folks, I want to prove it real quick, because this is like, wait, financial system is designed for us to fail. I don't know if everyone agrees, but like I'll show you real quick. Columbia House Records, 12 CDs for a penny. You could get 12 CDs for a penny. That's with music, not like the CDs or certificate of deposit. And I went and I got it and I sent it thing, and you could get it for just a penny if you filled out a tiny form that was this big, and you had like a couple weeks to do it. If you failed to fill it out, you would be on the hook for their subscription service, which was hundreds of dollars. The business was predicated on the idea that people would slip on filling out their forms. That's how they made their money.
Rachel remembers
They are literally designed on us failing.
Yes, and so many financial systems are designed for failure. They're not designed for us, right?
I just saw the PlayStation thing. Did you see the PlayStation thing?
Yes.
If you don't play your game for 30 days, that they will take it back.
Oh my gosh, what?
Yeah, a game you went and bought in the store. They were like, oh, you didn't play it for too long. And they shut down your internet
mine.
access.
But I guess it's not.
That's what I'm saying.
So we'd love to hear from you. How can you use money personalities to help clients take control of their financial decisions? I remember this. Got a lot of CDs.
Yeah.
Were you complicated?
Yeah, of course. He was like, yeah, I know. I filled out the form.
I was like, I know how to fill out that form. Columbia, they lost money on me. Oh, Tony. There you go.
I appreciate y'all who actually got yours.
I love it.
Again, feel free to unmute. Pam, you're the more direct client service person. How have you started working with folks with money personalities?
You've gotten Columbia chats in the
I love it.
So I talk about money personalities with every single one of my clients. It is the first thing we talk about. I share disorder versus adaptation with them, and we go deep on helping them understand why their habits are their habits. That's really what I do with my clients. And adding this interpersonal neurobiology piece has made the money personalities feel so much more grounding. And there's a lot of needing to forgive yourself right at the beginning, because deciding to go to a financial coach or a financial planner is already a big decision, and it's already a scary decision.
And can be embarrassing.
Yeah, exactly. And so this breaks the ice. I saw Denise just said it can break the ice to start a realistic conversation about how they feel about money. That's exactly right.
My big thing is, like I said about the efficaciousness, it's about getting it done. You know financial rules, you teach your client the financial rules, and they're like, okay, this sounds like a good rule, but they can't manage to do it. This is often the case. These money personalities, learning about them, I've seen people go from, I just can't do it, to, oh, this is my barrier, I can get past it.
Yes, and from Zakia, I would love to help them be aware first and then figure out their needs based on their money personality, and then what they can do to heal/mend it so they can reach their goal. Yes.
Love that.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I feel like this is the perfect way to meet clients where they are.
Ooh, I love this, Megan. It cultivates self-awareness, which capitalism discourages.
Snaps.
There's so much money stuff that is around convenience, and a lot of the convenience is meant to take away our decision-making.
Yeah.
Not to get too heavy and all this type of stuff, but like that's broadly what a lot of it is. Yeah. And that makes it harder for us to even decide, was that a good purchase? Was that not? Because everything has been taken.
Exactly. Thank you all so much.
Oh.
So speaking of which, why does saving feel so hard to do?
But before that, I want to get from Tony here. Not only does this help you meet them where they're at, it ensures you don't leave them there, but move them forward.
Bars! Yes, thank you, Tony. Yes,
I love
exactly.
That. Tony, we're going to get you in the Hip Hop Fin Fest. We're going to get you on a track.
Convenience to take right decision making. Yes, exactly. Thank you, Sophia. Yeah,
well,
thanks for the affirmation.
On that tip about convenience taking away our decision making, saving money is not an easy thing.
It's not. It's not convenient, right? It feels difficult because there's so many things that are trying to take your money. Because it's my money, I don't want to spend it now. Denise, I feel that. Knowing the personality helps to guide them to better their money habits and financial security. Thank you, Tracy.
Most definitely. I love to bring in the habits part.
Yeah, so let's talk about why saving is hard to do.
So I've got an image here that is pretty tough I don't like this image. This image, I'll be honest with you, it does have some lies in it. It had 15,000 likes at the time of screenshotting it. And I just would like y'all to take a moment to check this out and tell me what you see. Tell me, and again, feel free to unmute, especially because this is kind of an emotional image here. Is there anything that you can see already that's just a straight up lie? How does this image make you feel? And where else do you hear this message?
Creator is a hater.
Look at that. That's a good rhyme.
Yeah, that's real.
Right? Yeah, there
like
does seem to be some like an anger in it or an insidious kind of thing to it.
Yeah, hateration happening. Yeah. And there's a lot of blame in this picture, right?
One of the things some of y'all look for in other things, I think this is reminiscent of financial scams because financial scams love using oddly specific numbers. Like who's spending $8,920 on a chain? Yeah, social media will have you believing this, right?
Yes, Tony, it feels very shaming.
Yeah, it's very shaming. And like it all sounds like kind of plausible. We're like, oh, the rich guys only spends a little bit on clothes. That's why they're rich.
Yeah, it also feels stereotypical.
Dude,
yes.
Even to the point where, like, first of all, they're both black, but you notice that the poor one has short or longer hair, implying youth, right? There's like, oh, these young kids don't got it together. One thing I appreciate, this makes me feel like icky. Same. About these stereotypes, one thing I've done a lot of studying, our People's at Prosperity Now, all of that, the stereotypes are not just untrue, they're backwards. Yeah, this is very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So a couple things I want to point out real quick. And again, feel free to chime in and throw any thoughts and feelings in the chat or just talking. First of all, that rich guy's probably not spending $15 on a shirt.
No. Quiet
luxury's a thing. Cats spend a lot of money. Oh yeah,
AirPods in the core. That's what. Yeah, no, AirPods all the way. Come on.
Right. What are they implying that like rich people?
I know rich people
they buy
don't
old
do
school
that.
stuff,
yeah,
right?
No.
They are buying the luxurious thing. It just looks like it's cheap because they're not trying to show out in all that kind of way. Another thing like this is you're talking about these stereotypes. It's ways that we are told to be conditioned to do things. A lot of stuff. Spend money on the wrong things. Expensive things don't mean they look better. I love that. And that is one of these things. And when it comes to spending money on the wrong things, spending money expensively on stuff that we can't afford, we're often told it's because we're not smart enough. I'm writing curriculum here in New York, and they keep telling me to write wants versus needs. And I'm like, look, no one has ever failed to pay their rent because they think Jordans and rent are the same thing. It's because they gave up.
They couldn't afford the rent, so they said, let me just buy these Jordans.
Yeah. And this kid here on the poor side and all that, maybe he can't afford all of this stuff. But his impulses and desire to get this is not a bad thing. Now, especially looking at that these are black kids and other stereotypes around black folks. Y'all know what was happening to black people years ago? I mean, lots of things. But in Reconstruction, after slavery, quote unquote, ended, there was this thing. If you were a black kid out on the street and you weren't dressed nice enough, like you were going to a job and that was at the police's discretion, they could arrest you, throw you in jail, someone would pay your bail, and then you would end up working for them. So if you are looking at a Gucci belt and being like, should I buy this? It's not because you're vain. It's not because you want everyone to think of you. I mean, the idea is you want people to see you as a more wealthy, more status-having person because status creates safety. This is generations of being told if you look right, you will not be messed with. You will not be pulled over. People always talk about, they have a BMW, but they still live in the projects. Well, having a BMW makes you less likely to get pulled over and harassed and treated poorly. Maybe they can't afford this thing. And yes, we need to budget to make sure we can afford it. But the impulse is not a bad thing. I love it.
Yes,
the dopamine, the social pressures.
Yeah, genetics. If your ancestors had to do this, your DNA will be coded
straight
to do
up.
It. Thank you. Yeah, exactly.
And you hear it. You hear it from your mom. Your mom heard it from her mom.
Yeah, your mom told you that.
My mom would tell me, you better not go out this house looking like that. Yeah, I guess I'd have been in jail in that era. Yeah, I know. Yeah. That's the thing. I love this. As well as accessibility to these purposely placed luxury brands that market to our culture, yet places like banks and community centers are much further out. I mean, I've seen the emails of like, we're going to target a black community and get rappers and yada yada to do all of this stuff when really they have no presence and don't contribute back. Yes. It's not a reciprocal relationship.
I also want to read Sarah's comment out. Need versus wants, super challenging to teach your kids. We teach our kids wants or needs too.
Yeah, that our wants are our emotional needs. It's really more that we teach about values.
Yeah.
What matters to you? That's why I was saying the thing about budgeting for sharing money out on the street and like sending money back home to that cousin or that parent or whoever who needs help. All of these things are what an advisor would tell you to stop doing. and then you'll be financially free.
Yes.
When we don't necessarily want to be financially independent, some of us want to be financially interdependent.
Yeah, exactly. Once there needs to is so disruptive. I love it.
You know us. We love to flip the table.
Right.
Thank you for going through that with us. I know
Yes.
that one is very emotional and can be stressful. It stresses me out, but I feel better when able to share it with experts like y'all.
Yes. The other thing is real for real, like greedflation happening, right? So what this chart is showing is that we saw inflation spike in 2022 for good reason. The cost of making goods just went up, right? It spiked all of a sudden, so all the prices increased. But if you see since then, they figured out the supply chain and the price of making goods has actually gone down.
But our
But
line
that
keeps
green
going.
line keeps going up.
You know it's real because Walmart and Target apologized. They said, please, I'm sorry, we're overcharging you.
Yeah, that's right.
But, other people are doing wild stuff. Like, remember when Disney killed that lady? Oh, I was raised by a single parent in a large house, so we were definitely taught needs versus wants. I hear that.
Yep, that's right.
So Disney killed this lady and then said her husband couldn't sue. She had a peanut allergy, or I don't know if it's a peanut. She had a food allergy, and they said it wasn't in that food, or they didn't have that food. They ended up feeding it to her. She died. And when the husband went to sue, they found that there was a clause in their Disney Plus contract that said they can't sue in case something bad happens to you on their site because you signed up for Disney Plus. And Shake Shack is doing it too now. You know how you can go up to the kiosk and put your email in and get a little discount or something like that? I know Shake Shack specifically has something in there that if you get food poisoning or something like that happens, that you can't sue.
You can't sue them. Yeah.
So it makes it difficult to make choices. And it's really hard because look at how expensive groceries have gotten.
We all know that luxury groceries. No, groceries are not a luxury.
And we had some young folks here, and I apologize. I'm so sorry. Oh yeah, right.
Shake Shack burgers are expensive, but good.
Yeah, no, I hear that.
Yeah, that's right.
Shout out to my young folks out here. I'm so sorry. As an old head, I used to get to go see Boyz II Men for $20. I could high five Wanye in the front row, and now it's hundreds of dollars. More than 60% of people who went to Coachella had to finance it. They couldn't afford it. They used Klarna or Afterpay or anything. It's wild. And now everyone is
so expensive.
And everyone's doing variable pricing now.
Yeah,
It's not just Uber, it's Wendy's.
Grocery stores are testing it.
Oh yeah, I saw the
Foresight
Foresight of
of
Coachella
Coachella
TikTok. Oh my
Whoa.
gosh. That we're having Clash Division at the music festival?
Yeah, that's wild. Oh, for variety, you could see 10 artists for $50.
Yeah.
That's what
Oh,
concerts
yeah.
are supposed to be. Dynamic pricing is so rude.
So rude.
So
And-
rude,
I mean,
I
like,
agree.
Wendy's, really? If
Yeah.
everybody wants a chicken sandwich, you're going to charge me more for your chicken sandwich? I'm insulted. And it's getting more insidious because I've seen that there are changes that happen from when you pick it up to when you get to the register. There's been
my
that new thing
gosh.
about, was it Walmart who's doing the hardcore variable pricing? Anyway,
Yes.
it's a lot going on with that.
And then you've all seen the stat, right?
Yeah, and Maryland
We're at
is
Cash
doing it now,
Campaign.
too.
The stat is the same. The average wealth of white families is 10 times. Oh, banning dynamic pricing. Way to go, Maryland.
Good job.
The average wealth of a white family is 10 times the wealth of black families. It will take 242 years for the average black family to catch up to the wealth of a white family today.
Well, and today, 1 out of 3 families of color have a net worth of 0 or less versus 1 out of 12 white households. And the 1 out of 12 white households ain't okay either, but they're all connected.
Yes.
Move to the next, John. Let's roll, because I know we got time. Those of y'all who are grown, you might have heard of this as a riot. Today, it's known as the Tulsa Race Massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where there was a thriving black community that was attacked because of stereotypes around black folks. Because of stereotypes around black folks, there is a clause saying that if there is a riot in your business, you don't have to pay out.
Yep.
And therefore, when the newspapers called it a riot,
got it,
they
Tony.
didn't pay out.
Yep, that's
And
right.
the thing of it is people will be like, well, hey, maybe not all my clients are black. Why should I care? Well, we should, one, care about our fellow person, but also this has a reason. If you've ever waited tables, you've been paid poorly because of hatred of black people. This jerk says this quote right here about how black people take tips as a token of their inferiority. Tips go with servility, and no man who is a voter in this country is the least justified of being in service. You notice how they tied voting in there. It was a poor argument, but it still worked to make it so that you could be paid as little as $2 an hour. And this is the real DEI, because you could be white, you could be Asian, you could be any ethnicity, you still will be paid poorly because of anti-blackness. This is why we bring up the racial wealth divide in everything that we're doing, because the folks who are treated the worst, if folks get away with it, they will do it to you too.
Yes, Tony. Oh my God, that's so gross. That is bananas. Yes. Yep. People are giving up their rights in contract signing package just as a minor convenience for your entertainment. Exactly.
Yeah, as we're saying with all of this.
So with
We wa-
all of that,
we're gonna
all the
end on
systemic
this,
stuff, we're
basically.
going to end on this. What about willpower, though? I just need to have more willpower to save, right?
There's a great test called the marshmallow
Marshmallow
test that some of y'all might have heard of. Basically, it's the idea that they can predict who are the great leaders of tomorrow.
Yes. So if you're not familiar, the test is they put a 5-year-old in a room with a marshmallow and tell them, you could eat a marshmallow now, or if you don't eat the marshmallow, I'll come back and you get a second marshmallow. So they were trying to test why some kids could wait for the second marshmallow, because delayed gratification means greater personal responsibility, means greater success in life, right?
Well, in the 2010s, they tried to replicate it and found it is not a predictor of that. It's a predictor of how poor you grew up. If you grew up and you were told tomorrow we're going to Six Flags, tomorrow we're going to get a pizza party, tomorrow, and when tomorrow happens, you not only don't get the thing, you have stuff taken away from you. You are not wrong for believing that there is no second marshmallow.
Right, you're not wrong for believing she might not come back with that marshmallow, or you don't eat the first marshmallow and she takes it away from you. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I'm a one marshmallow kid. I grew up like that. You know, one of the things about it is that it's, you know, you should be saving more money, but you can't.
Yes.
It doesn't feel safe to save money.
And there is an interpersonal neurobiology, true neuroscience reason why. It's called explicit versus implicit memory.
Your explicit memory is the stuff that's in your mind, the conscious retrieval of things, your birthdays, grocery lists, whereas the implicit is what lives in the body, like brushing your teeth, like driving a car, playing a sport.
Knowing all the words to a
singing
song.
all the words, right? You don't think of it, you just do it.
Singing all the words. And the wild thing is that knowing all the words to a song is implicit memory. Knowing the name of a song is explicit memory.
Explicit memory fires off about 5 to 60 bits a second, whereas implicit goes at 11 million. It's 1,000,000 times faster.
11 million bits per second. And they found that implicit memory starts at 7 months in the womb. Your memory is literally generational.
See, money is a lot of our, guess, gambling with trust. Money represents a lot of implicit memories, some of which we can access, some of which we don't even know where they come from.
Yeah. So if you start to feel uncomfortable, or if your clients feel uncomfortable, ask them where they feel that in your body and honor that.
It's not that they can't figure out this thing or it's not made for them. It's that it doesn't feel safe.
Yeah. I have so many clients who make more money than their parents ever had, and they come to me and they say, as soon as the money goes in, it goes right back out. And what I found is that for some people, spending money as soon as you get it can be your body's way of saying, someone's going to take this from me, so I'm going to spend it before they do. And having savings might literally physically not feel safe to them, but they don't know how to articulate that. Because saving is the thing that makes sense, right? It's the right thing to do. And your body's like, nope, you better spend that now or someone's coming for it.
Mm-hmm.
So of course you're going to spend it. Of course you have a hard time saving. The thing about feeling unsafe, it is very difficult to plan and envision the future unless your nervous system feels safe in the present.
This is why we start and end with our feelings.
Mm-hmm.
We want you to understand your own feelings around money, help your clients understand their feelings around money, deal with their nervous system, because only once we feel safe is when we make the decision that lines up with our values. Otherwise, it's like some blackout drunk night where you're like, wait, what happened? I bought what? I did what?
Yeah.
And you don't even understand how you got in this position.
And when you share this with clients and give them that insight and that grounding with the neuroscience, their adaptations will move towards saving. I've seen it happen personally.
Mm-hmm.
You give them that space. All right, so that's it.
That's our party.
That's our party. We're out of time, y'all. If you want to reach us, oh wait, let me reshare so you can get our info. If you want to reach us, feel free to reach out at any time. GetShameless.com. Follow us on Instagram, Pam@GetShameless.com, or Dyalekt@Dyalekt.com.
We have workshops with deeper dives into these things. And also, we want to know what you got going on. Please share your thoughts, feelings, needs, if you got some kids for the song contest. And also share your successes. We would love to know about some new method or situation or thing that you've created.
Yes. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pam and Dyalekt. What a treat to have y'all back. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Folks, please keep tabs on these guys because they're always up to something big.
And we're in Maryland a lot, y'all, just so you know. So
Yes.
if you got something, let us know.
Just
If we
reach
can
out.
come through and party, we will be happy to do it.
Thanks.
Oh, you will be
Thank
hearing
you.
from me.
I gotta
All the
run and get our
parties. all the
Please, yes,
parties.
most definitely, Megan.
Yes.
But next time we're gonna have Megan come kick some rhymes. I'm gonna keep saying it until it happens. It's gonna happen.
All right, y'all. Yes, before I start breakdancing. Thank you again to Pam and Dyalekt. All right, folks, we have a break for the next 10 minutes-ish. Went a little over, so we'll be back at 2:25. All right? Everyone back, 2:25. Thank you. See you soon.
So welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed our first session, our icebreaker, as well as our keynotes. And so now we are moving on to the 411 panel. So I just want to give us a couple of housekeeping rules before I do introductions and we get started. We are first going to meet our cash campaign policy team. And after the presentation, well, during the presentation, please feel free to put any questions or comments that you may have in reference to this section in the chat. After the policy team has finished presenting, then we will go back and revisit the questions and answers in the chat for them to answer. Okay, so let's get started with Cash Campaign's own policy team. We have Tanea Moore. She is Cash Campaign Maryland's Director of Policy. She has experience in intergovernmental relations and public policy to the organization. Tanea has an extensive background working in various positions in the Maryland General Assembly. Prior to joining CASH, she worked as Chief of Staff for the Office of Delegate Stephanie Smith. Lona Muckle is Cash Campaign of Maryland's Senior Policy and Development Associate, working on advocacy and policy initiatives in Baltimore City and across Maryland. This involves working in Annapolis, researching multiple policy areas, and outreach to communities. She also provides support for the Financial Education and Capability Commission and advocacy coalitions across Maryland. I'd like to now turn it over to our policy team.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Veronica. Hi, everyone. It's good to see your faces. Thank you all for being here. Lona, I don't know if it's not just on my end, but I can't see the slides. Is it just me, or can everyone see Lona's slide right now? There we go. Okay. All righty. Today is a great day. I am in a great mood. I'm just getting back from Annapolis. Today was one of our bill signings. So that's when we go to the State House and we have an opportunity to watch the governor sign legislation that we worked very hard for over session get signed into law. So Robin and I, Cash's CEO, literally just got back from Annapolis. Next slide, Lona, because the first bill we're going to talk about after I do a breakdown is the bill that actually got signed into law. So we're excited. So just a little something about the policy and advocacy team. Every year we advocate for a variety of policies, policies that impacts the everyday lives of our clients and the people that we serve. So when we are in Annapolis and when we are advocating for bills, we're always keeping a few different things in mind. One, we want to make sure that what we're working on ensures economic security for Marylanders. We want to also make sure that the bills that we're working on and the connections that we're making help strengthen the safety net for workers. It increases consumer protection, which is one of the first bills we're going to talk about. And some of the other work that we're doing, the Cash Campaign was the nonprofit administrator for Baltimore City's very first guaranteed income pilot. It was a 2-year pilot, $1,000 a month. For 200 families. And through that experience, we learned a lot about some of the everyday needs and changes that people needed in order to continue to help their families survive and thrive. So through that work, there's also some different type of policy initiatives that we now focus on through supporting our former guaranteed income participants for those 2 years. Although the payments have stopped, we still continue to support them. We also really focus on research and advocacy and overall promoting economic advancement for low to moderate income individuals and families. Next slide. So through the 90-day session, we tracked 106 bills as the policy team. That's a lot of bills for a small but mighty team. We supported 80 of those bills, and our support looks different depending on what it is. It can be written testimony. It can be oral testimony where we're showing up in person. For the most part, we show up in person. And it could be just rallying support, getting other advocates and people involved. But 80 bills we were able to support as the policy team. Out of those 80 bills, 27 of the bills that we supported passed. That's pretty good. That's a lot of work. You'll see at the bottom just some pictures, some highlights from the policy team, whether we were there testifying, doing our office visits, or just continuing to gather votes that we needed for the legislation that we were working on in Annapolis. Next slide, please. So I started off by saying it was a great day. We watched one of our bills get signed into law. This is that bill, Earned Wage Access Bill. If you all go to like your app store on your phone and you search Earned Wage Access, you will see a lot of different products such as Dave. There's a ton of them come up. And it's basically these platforms where people can go on to borrow against their paycheck if they need funds, if they need access to their funding early. Last year, the Maryland General Assembly passed a really bad bill that, number one, just like allowed these products to operate outside of Maryland's payday lending safeguards. It allowed for these products and these companies to charge people tips, and it also excused them from Maryland's anti-discrimination practices. So that was a really bad bill that passed last session. We were not happy this time last session. This session, this year we're happy because we were able to do some work in partnership with Economic Action Maryland Fund and Center for Responsible Lending to, number one, ban tips on these products. So now when people use different platforms, depending on which app they feel comfortable with, whichever app they choose, they're no longer going to be asked for a tip. We have seen some scenarios where people are asked for tips between 8 and 12 times while trying to request the loan to access their funding. But now, no tips. The other thing is it makes sure it's that these companies actually have to follow our payday lending safeguards, including the anti-discrimination safeguards that are also in place. So this is a big win for the cash campaign. This is a fight we have been in for the past 3 years, and we're finally in a place where we are happy with what the Maryland General Assembly has passed. Next slide, please. Some of the other policies that we advocated for that relates to increasing consumer protections. One is a cash payment protection, House Bill 191. I don't know if you or someone you may know have been turned away from a store or a food truck or anything else for only having cash and not having any other methods of payment. This bill is a step. It's not the full fix yet, but it's a step in the right direction to make sure that people are not being refused when they only have cash as a method of payment. So we want to make sure that, again, when you're going to different businesses, when you go to purchase things, that you're able to get your goods with that cash. I said that this is a step in the right direction because this bill is not fully what we intended it to be. There are still some things that we'll have to work out in future sessions. But again, it is a start, and we are happy with that. Another bill protects vulnerable adults. So this bill makes sure that people are not getting taken advantage of, or when they are getting taken advantage of, financial institutions can delay or deny any suspicious transactions, particularly when it comes to financial exploitation of seniors or vulnerable adults. This is legislation that further enhance the already existing consumer protections that we have. There are so many stories. Whoever's interested, I can share the link to the bill hearing for this, where people, mostly older adults, were taken advantage of. And there were things that financial institutions probably could have done earlier, but there were not those policies that were set in place. So this continues to further enhance the consumer protections that we have, not just for people in general, but particularly for vulnerable adults. And that's another win that we're celebrating. The next one is unsolicited loan protection, another one of our bills that got signed into law today, another one that we're celebrating. And this prohibits creditors from sending unsolicited checks, also known as live checks. Again, with this one, a lot of stories of people being trapped into unintended debt because they receive these live checks, thinking that not knowing that they are actually high cost loans. And there's so many stories of people just getting further and further into the cycle of debt. And this is a bill to make sure that creditors are no longer allowed to do that, and make sure that people are continuously being protected, especially when it comes to their finances. Next slide. And I think this is the last bill I'm going to talk about before I turn it over to Lona. This is the Temporary Cash Assistance Protection Bill, another win for us when we think about strengthening the safety net for workers. For this particular legislation, it prohibits the Department of Human Services from denying, reducing, or terminating people's TCA benefits when people have good cause for not cooperating with child support requirements. We've seen a lot of families who have not been able to receive TCA or stop receiving TCA when they don't want to put someone on child support. And the reasons may vary. We see situations where it's because of domestic violence. We see situations where it's a grandparent who might be caring for their grandchildren and don't want to put their parents on child support, or it can be a situation where the parents have a really good co-parenting situation going on. So this legislation makes sure that DHS cannot deny people from receiving TCA when people have good cause for not cooperating with the child support system. Next slide. And I'll turn it over to you, Lona, to start off with another one of our bills, the local child tax credit that was also signed into law today.
All right, so hi everyone. I'm Lynn, the Senior Policy Associate. And yes, another bill that was signed by Governor Moore today is the local child tax credit bill. So right now, our state has a state level child tax credit, and this bill would allow for local governments, so counties and cities, to be able to mirror that and to have a child tax credit on the local level as well. Another bill that was our priority this session is access to banking. So expands, this bill expands This bill expands access to banking by ensuring that banks and credit unions have incentives to invest in underserved communities. And we supported this bill through written testimony and oral testimony to prove how important it is for investment in low to moderate income communities. The next bill that was a priority bill that we worked in partnership with CASA is the data privacy bill. So this bill limits companies from selling consumer data to immigration enforcement. So this will help keep people's personal information safe and stop the data sharing between those companies and for use for immigrant populations. And we have some bills that we supported this session that were not able to get passed, and these are missed opportunities for progress. So the first bill is the Financial Empowerment Center bill. So this bill would create a network, would create a pilot program to have financial empowerment centers across more areas in the state. The next bill is a bill around updating our unemployment insurance. So this bill would have made unemployment insurance benefits better match today's wages and cost of living, increase the current benefit. And last but not least, we have our earned income tax credit expansion bill. And so this one would have increased the Maryland's EICT for people who are for single individuals who are unable to claim dependents. And it would have increased the maximum income threshold for them. And it would have made more people who are working closer to a full-time minimum wage be able to receive the credit. And so that was a lot of information, and that was just some of the bills that we were working on this session. And so if you go on our website, you will be able to see our full wrap up, which has these bills and the other bills that we worked on.
And I will flag while we're waiting for questions to another advocacy issue that we are working on. This doesn't really have much to do with state level legislative session, but something locally. The Montgomery County Council is considering a proposal to eliminate the Working Families Income Supplement, their local EITC. So that is something that we are in opposition to. There's a hearing tomorrow where some members from our advocacy group will be showing up. We do have an action alert and just information letting the council know that we are in opposition to this. If any of you live in Montgomery County or know anyone who live in Montgomery County, feel free to share this action network, which I just put in the chat. And happy to take any questions.
Okay, so thank you, policy team. And there are some questions that are appearing in the chat. So one of the questions is why would a company request a tip when someone's borrowing money from them? What is their reasoning behind that? And someone wants to know, is it like an organizational fee?
So, okay. So the company's reason for the most part as to why they ask for a tip is because they say that their services are free of charge. So because they say like it's $0 to be able to fill out your application, go through and have access to your money, even though they do charge you for expedited fees, which most people do. That's their reasoning for a tip, because their products, their services are free. There's so much more that we can say, especially things that came out of the bill hearing. I'm trying to be mindful of what we're saying, but I will say the companies say because their services are advertised as free, they ask for tips.
Okay. So I'm going to skip around. So I'm going to go to Zakia's question, and I think I'm going to save the other question as far as opportunities for last. So we have a question that says, wouldn't the places require explicit permission to share data with immigration places? And did they give reasoning on why the bill didn't get passed? Because they sounded very they sounded very sound and fair to me.
I'll take that second question, Lona. I'll let you answer the data privacy one. Most of the reasoning, well, number one, we don't really get reasons why bills aren't passed. It can either be because it's a budget issue. So if bills have a really high fiscal note, and looking at Maryland's budget, certain bills will not be passed, or sometimes the clock simply runs out. I really think that's what happened with the Financial Empowerment Center bill. There were a lot of bills still left on the list by time 11:59, the last day of session, came, and a lot of bills simply just did not pass into law because of timing. But we know, for example, our EITC bill that we were advocating for, we knew very early on that it was a budget issue because of the high fiscal note. So we were able to have conversations and start to have a plan in place leading into next session. Lona, anything on that data protection one?
So I would say for like explicit permission, I feel like there's different levels of permission needed for like different data. So companies collect a lot of data about you, and it could be things like your name, your address, your email, your phone number, and those things don't really require explicit permission, but this bill makes it so that like though that level of personal information cannot just be given to the government for purposes of immigrant enforcement.
Okay. I have a statement here from Gladys, and it says, I made a donation on GoFundMe, and they included an $8 tip in addition to their admin fee.
Yeah, we're seeing that a lot with especially GoFundMe, ActBlue, and different platforms where you're able to give money to people. The tip should be an option for people. Now, I will say we've heard from clients where, although the tip is supposed to be optional, they didn't know that. They thought it was like something that they had to do in order to move forward with the transaction. So that's something that we're continuously flagging with our partners over at the Department of Labor and the Attorney General's office as well.
Okay, and we have one more question from Megan. Are there any opportunities for our clients or participants in our programs to get involved?
Absolutely. Um, Lona, can you put the link in the chat for number one for our e-newsletter? And then we also have a link for ways for people to get involved. We're always looking for volunteers. We're always looking for client stories. And we're always just looking for space to be able to communicate and talk to people so that we know different things that we need to focus on leading into the next session as well. So Lona will put that in the chat, and we're happy to collaborate and work with anyone.
Okay. Oh, got one more that just popped up from Zakia. When is the next opening for bills to be passed, and what does that scheduling look like? Also, thank you for answering my questions.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you for the questions. The next session will start in January. We don't know the exact date. It's usually the second or third week in January. And then from that first date is 90 days. Scheduling, because it's only 90 days, every day there are bill hearings, there are committee votes, there's floor sessions. So like the scheduling is just chaotic, honestly. There's a lot going on, but we're happy to talk to you to navigate the process, especially depending on if there's like any particular bills that you are interested in. We're happy to help talk you through that process. I see there's another question. What do your volunteers do? So one of the things that we need help with is when we're boots on the ground in Annapolis, passing out things like our one pagers of visiting different legislators' offices, voicing our support or opposition for particular testimony, and just being that person, being people who can join our small but mighty team when we're in Annapolis, mostly doing office visits. And different things like action alerts and making phone calls and things that you can certainly do from home as well.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, policy team. We really appreciate you fighting the good fight on behalf of Marylanders. And if anyone is interested, the links are there in the chat. So please feel free to click on those and to review the information. And next up, I have an introduction for Gary Mottola. Gary is the research director at the FINRA Investor Education Foundation and is a social psychologist with more than 30 years of research experience. In his role at the FINRA Foundation, he oversees and conducts research projects aimed at better understanding financial capability in America, protecting investors from financial fraud, and improving financial disclosure statements. Dr. Mottola received his BA from the University of Albany, MA from Brooklyn College, and PhD from the University of Delaware. Today, Gary will discuss the state of financial health in America, offering insights on U.S. adults' ability to cover expenses, save for the future, manage financial products, and make well-informed financial decisions. I'll leave it to you, Gary.
Well, thank you for the nice introduction, and thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. It's been a really interesting day so far, listening to everything that's going on. So I will be talking about the National Financial Capability Study. So I'm going to share my slides right here. Give me 1 second. That should be this one. And let's do this. Oops. Oops. Can you guys see it at this point?
No.
Okay, hold on.
There we go. Nope,
Oh,
we
you got it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just move this up here so I just get going here. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to spend some time talking about the National Financial Capability Study. Don't hesitate to interrupt with questions. You could put them in the chat. I might see them, I might not. Actually, I don't even know if I could see the chat right now. But in any event, you could just raise your hand or even just honestly just chime in and say, excuse me, I have a question. I'll pause it. I'll pause periodically to give you an opportunity to ask questions. So first let's just talk about where the state is coming from. Basically It aims to better understand financial capability in the United States. So, and the term financial capability has been thrown around a number of times today. It's commonly used, but there's no one agreed upon definition of financial capability. So I just want to kind of tell you how we define it. And you can see here there's kind of four pillars. Making ends meet. Can you pay your bills? Planning ahead. Are you saving for the things you should be saving for, like retirement or college education if you have kids? Managing financial products. Are you using credit cards? And if you are you making the payments? Do you have mortgages? Are you making the payments later on time? Like things like those type of products. And then finally, financial knowledge. Essentially, we measure that with actually typically a 5-question quiz, although we do have a 7-question quiz version. So that's kind of what this study does. Now, it started back in 2009, and we do it every 3 years. So we have data in 2009, 2012, 2015, all the way up through 2024. So if you think about it, we have data on financial capability in the United States spanning 16 years and 6 different waves of data. So it's a very rich data source, which, by the way, is free for download at, I'll put the URL up in a moment, but it's the FINRAfoundation.org. So we're going to be talking, you're going to see data points dating back to 2009, actually, but we're going to be focusing on the 2024 data. So this was collected in the summer and fall of 2024. So keep that in mind as you're interpreting things, because the environment has changed a bit in some instances. It's a large survey. We have basically 500 respondents per state. So that's over 25,000 respondents per wave. Now that per state is important because it's the FINRA Investor Education Foundation, and being an education foundation, we wanted to make sure we had data at the state level because a lot of education policy is driven at the state level. So we actually have a lot of data on all the states, but not in this presentation. This presentation is about the national findings, but keep in mind that anything you see in this presentation, actually not anything, but most of what you see in this presentation, you could get the same statistics for the state of Maryland, if you like. And our website actually has a nice report you could download on Maryland or any state for that matter that kind of shows how Maryland is comparing to the rest of the United States. And where would you get this? You would get it here. FINRAfoundation.org/NFCS, which National Financial Capability Study. So that's kind of, we're going to be pulling data from this study. It's a large study. There's a report on the website that goes into great detail. We can only hit some of the topics in the report, so I'm kind of going to be choosing certain topics to go after. But if you have questions on anything, again, something maybe you're not seeing on the slide, we may have data on it. We may be able to talk about it. So again, don't hesitate to ask any questions. And so with that background on the data, I'll pause for a moment just to see if there's any questions before we get into it. Okay. So let's start with making ends meet, right? So I mentioned this started in 2009. We started collecting data. Well, 2009 was basically, depending on how you're keeping score, right after or during the Great Recession. In other words, 2009 was the low point for financial capability. And it's reflected here in the data. We ask a question, do you find it easy to cover expenses and pay bills, right? So we want this number to be high. We want people to say, yes, I find it easy to cover expenses and pay bills. Back in 2009, only 36% said, yeah, I do find this essentially making ends meet easy. And we start slowly tick up every single wave, go up, go up, go up, even through the pandemic, right? We were shocked. When we looked at the 2021 data, we were kind of shocked initially, but then we realized that a lot of the government, like the stimulus checks and the government benefit, some generous government benefits at the federal and state level, really kind of helped people and improved their financial capability. And then came 2024, and that's a big drop. That's a 10 percentage point drop in the essentially the percentage of people who say that, yeah, I find it easy to cover my expenses. So again, after years and years of improving capability, boom, we get hit with a pretty significant drop. And what's interesting is you could ask who's driving this drop? Like essentially, is it lower income household? Is it higher income household? You can actually cut this by a number of demographics. This happens to be income. But you can see here the households that make below 25,000, they're flat. You know, they're in 29% in 2021 said it that they find it easy to make ends meet, and that didn't change at all. But if you look at the high income and the middle income, that's that dark blue bar and the light blue bar, that's what's driving this decrease. It's the higher and middle income households that are saying, yeah, I'm having a hard time. And that's a little different. That we usually don't hear that from particularly the high income households. But so that kind of jumped out at us as being a little different. By the way, I'll point out that we have lots of demographics, right? So this is income, but we have all the typical demographics: age, marital status, education, race, gender. So while you might not see it on these slides, we do have data on. We do cut the data in a number of different ways. Okay, I'll just pause there, see if there's any questions, but chime in if you have them. Okay. Okay.
I had a question.
Sure.
Did they give the reasoning why, or is this just the data as is?
Yeah, so the why is often hard to come by. So yes, we're just kind of showing what people are saying. We don't know why they're saying it, although in a slide or two, we're going to get some insight into the why question. But when we usually want the why, this we call this quantitative research, quantitative survey research, because we're just kind of collecting data. But we do a lot of in-depth interviews and focus groups with consumers to kind of ask that question. We sit down with them and said, okay, why do you say this? Why do you say that? So this is not, we don't have a lot of whys in this data, but if you are interested in a particular why, throw it out there, and maybe we've done a focus group or an in-depth interview on it and might have some might be able to shed some light on it. Okay. So that's how people this is what we call a behavioral measure, like kind of behaviorally, can you pay your bills? But then kind of we like to ask, well, how do you feel, right? So we have a question on, are you satisfied with your personal financial condition? And again, you kind of see, so you want high numbers here. So you kind of see, like in 2009, people weren't particularly satisfied. We see that same upward trend, same steady upward trend, and then boom, 2024, it dropped, meaning that how people are feeling mirrored how they kind of said behaviorally that they were doing. And again, these are big drops, 33% to 24%. In the survey research world, these are big drops. And I should probably said at the beginning, I might have, that the sample here is US adults 18 and over. This is the question. I kind of like this question. We've asked this. We've only asked this question back to 2018. Does thinking about your personal finances make you feel anxious? And again, it's trending up. And I know Pam and Dyalekt talked a little about how people were feeling, and yes, we are tapping into anxiety here, financial anxiety. What's kind of noteworthy though is think about it. So 63% of the U.S. adult population says, "Hey, I'm feeling anxious," and we see this across all income bands. It's the high income, medium income, and lower income households are all saying they feel anxious. So this is not just a low income type of finding.
Excuse me, Gary, was there any reason that you can pinpoint to, or what was going on maybe in 2024 that influenced the satisfaction and the anxiousness?
Yes, and I think it's the next slide and the slide after, which will segue into that with a partial answer, not a full answer. I think it's the next slide. Let's see. Okay, yes. So the first thing we naturally looked at, so we're seeing this steady decline. And by the way, I showed you a decline across a handful of variables. We have like 70 different questions in the survey. So I could show you the same trend for similar type variables. So when we saw this downward trend consistently in the data, the first thing we thought was like, all right, are people making less money, or is their income more volatile? So we have a question: have you experienced an unexpected income drop? And again, it was worse back in 2009 when people were losing their jobs. 40% said they experienced an unexpected income drop, but then it kind of leveled off. Now look between 2021 and 2024. That 1 percentage point difference, there's no difference. So it's not the case that more people in 2024 are saying, hey, I've had an unexpected income drop. Now, keep that in your mind for a moment, because we also have this. Does your income vary occasionally or often from month to month? This, in some ways, we were trying to get at the gig economy here, or hourly workers. Basically, we want to know how steady is your income, because if your income is varying quite a bit, that might drive why you're seeing these drops in financial satisfaction and even in financial behaviors. And no, right? So no difference in terms of income variation, no difference in terms of dropped income. So we come to the conclusion that it's not income driven. But what kind of happened between 2018 and 2021? Yeah, inflation, right? So we believe this is primarily being driven, that drop by kind of inflation and just the cost of products and services, particularly food, going up. I don't have it in this presentation, but again, in the report, we ask questions like, has inflation impacted the ability to afford housing? Has inflation impacted your ability to kind of essentially put food on the table? So we go into it deeper in the report, but this is primarily, we believe, driven by inflation. So I'll pause there before we kind of go into financial knowledge, just to see, again, this is the tip of the iceberg. There's lots of data. But I'll just pause there before we kind of go into financial knowledge. Financial knowledge is kind of an intriguing area, I think.
Hey, I have a quick question, Gary. When you like, so how would you very quickly define inflation, right? So when you were asking people, was it inflation? Like, how do you believe people interpret that? Like, how would they know if it's inflation?
Yeah, so and that's a good question from a methodological standpoint, because if we're going to infer causality, I'll get a little geeky on you from research. I don't know if there's any researchers on the phone, but if we're going to infer causality and say this caused this, like inflation caused this drop, we need to be very specific in the way we word the question. So for a handful of questions, we specifically asked it. Did inflation cause you, like I mentioned, does it cause you, has it impacted your ability to pay your bills, essentially? But we broke it out by different bills. And kind of we get yes, yes, yes across the board. Now, for other questions we didn't ask, is inflation driving the behavior? So for most of the variables, we're kind of inferring that it's inflation based on what we're seeing. But for a handful of variables, we specifically can say the respondent said that inflation is causing this.
And Gary, we have a comment in the chat that from Tony that says it will be interesting to see the numbers for 2025 RE inflation driven.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I wish we had numbers in 2025 because we only do the survey every 3 years. So the next set of numbers will be 2027. But we expect that we might see some changes to how people are perceiving inflation. And also in the financial knowledge section, we're going to talk a little bit about inflation here. Inflation was, during this time period, was and still actually is, a fairly significant issue in the American economy and for American consumers.
If I could piggyback on the last person who asked a question, this is Tony. I think one of the things she was asking was what is the definition of inflation that you're using? Mm-hmm. And I am curious, because if I ask a random person to define inflation, and I ask 10 people off the street who don't have a financial education background or economic background, I'm going to get 10 different answers. So I'm wondering, how did you define inflation, and what is a good way for us to define it when working with people and talking to people about it?
We did not define it. We basically just said inflation and let the respondent define it for themselves. Now, that's certainly a limitation of survey research. The questions have to be pretty tight. If you make them too long or too complicated, people won't answer them. But we do have, we're about to segue to financial knowledge. We do have a financial knowledge question on inflation. So we actually essentially have a question, and it doesn't say it, but maybe it does have inflation. But anyway, I'll show you the data on the financial knowledge question. So we do have a way of assessing if they're knowledgeable, if they understand the concept of inflation, but we don't define it for them. Like we don't say it's like the CPI or something like that. It's a good point. It's up to the respondent to define it how they want to, which is often the case with survey research. Did that answer the question that time?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I also have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I believe if I was hearing correctly that you said that you do the the questions, the questionnaires, the surveys every 3 years. Is there a specific reason why that's the metric?
You mean why we space it out every 3 years?
Yes.
Yeah, for the most part, when we first started in 2009, we didn't actually have plans to do it, over and over again. And then when we decided, hey, there's a lot of value in this data set, we decided to do it over and over again. We weren't sure how much these measures would change on a year to year. So we were a little concerned that if we went in the next year, we wouldn't see much change and it wouldn't be much value. So we decided to kind of go on a 3-year kind of schedule. Now, I will say this, when this survey started, we went on a 3-year schedule to kind of not ensure, but by going 3 years, we hoped that we would pick up changes as opposed to just like no changes year to year. When this survey was started in 2009, there was no other survey like it. It was the first of its kind. But now there are surveys that do it year to year. So for example, probably the not the best one, but probably the most widely used one is the Federal Reserve Board has a survey called the Survey of Household and Economic Decision Making. And it's called SHED for short, SHED. It covers a lot of some similar ground, covers different ground, but you can go to the SHED and you can pull down the data and the reports and you could see year to year changes if that's what you're interested in.
And you said it was shed on the federal.
Yeah, if you Federal Reserve Board.
Federal Reserve.
If you honestly, if you type in FRB and then SHED as 2 separate words, it'll probably just come up. We actually work with the researchers at the SHED. They work with us because we want to make sure the studies complement one another. So it's a great survey. Good questions, all. So financial knowledge. So let me just tell you how we define financial knowledge. Going back to 2009, we have a 5-question financial literacy quiz. If anybody on the call is familiar with the measurement of financial literacy, there's something called the Big 5 financial literacy measure. It's developed by a couple of researchers, one at Penn and one who was at Dartmouth at the time, but it's at Stanford now. So there's 5 questions, and we basically say, hey, if you could answer 4 or more of these 5 questions correctly, we're going to mark you as high financial literacy. So in 2009, 42% of the surveyed population could answer 4 or 5 of these 5 questions correctly. And they cover the things that you would expect, like interest, inflation. There's a question or 2 on investing. I should know all 5, but I have it here someplace if anybody wants to know the exact topics. But it covers the basic financial concepts that it would be very helpful to understand just to kind of make informed financial decisions throughout your life. So back in 2009, 42% had what we call high financial knowledge. They could answer 4 or 5 of the 5 questions correctly. By the way, I mentioned now we have a 7-question version if you want to go out there and get all 7. There's also something called the Big 3. Like if you don't have a lot of room in your survey and you can only put 3 questions in, there's also by the same researchers, the Big 3 financial literacy questions. So in 2009, we were like, whoa, that's pretty low, 42%. But we didn't really have much data beyond that. And then 2012, we're like, oh, that's not good. But we weren't sure. Maybe it was just, a temporary blip. Then in 2015, when it went down again, we're like, all right, this is bad. We're trending downward. Then again in 2018 down, then again in 2021. So this was not, from our perspective, this was not good. Then in 2024, things leveled out. It was like just like I guess essentially the bleeding stopped. But still, right? The way we are measuring financial literacy, we would say only about a third of the US population right now has high financial literacy. Now, there are some reasons we could talk about for why things dropped. But I also we can talk about that if you're interested. But before that, I want to kind of point out something else that you may be familiar. You may know that there's a very big gender gap in financial literacy. So if you look here, 40% of the males in 2024 are considered high financial literacy. Well, I'm going to have to move a little quicker. And 25% of the females. So that's the gender gap, and it is everywhere. You see it in different countries. You see it over time. It just doesn't go away. It is always there. I will say this though. One of the reasons is when you answer these questions, you could say don't know. And honestly, if you get don't know, the research is going to mark you wrong. Women are much more likely to say don't know. So a lot of this is driven by don't know. And so, or you could look at it the other way, men benefiting from guessing and women are not benefiting from guessing. So here's the, I actually don't have the word. I thought I had the wording for the inflation question, but we have an inflation question. The knowledge of inflation went up, and not necessarily surprising because this essentially during this time period between 2021 and 2024, this is experiential learning. Particularly the young cohort, 18 to 34, they never experienced inflation, right? This was new to them. So once they experienced it, they went from 34% to 44%. The older people, they kind of knew the drill. They had probably experienced inflation throughout their lives. So this was a silver lining. It's hard to say that it's a good thing that inflation went up, but at least it helped people get a better understanding of inflation. You can also on the website, so in the report, you could see the wording of the questions on the on the website. You can actually take the quiz. It's the 7-question version. It's actually a good educational tool because you could tell students to take the test quiz, and it also provides answers, and you can compare it to like how other people do and stuff like that. So that's it. That again, you can go to that URL that I told you about earlier, finrafoundation.org. Questions on this before we move to the next topic? So I just want to talk a little bit about emerging topics and in particular fintech. And I'm only giving 2 examples. In the interest of time, there's 2 quick examples, but like I'm not going into cryptocurrency here. That's a whole nother world which we have data on. The 2 topics are one is AI. I mean, that's the elephant in the room, right? So AI is changing everything, and so we're coming at it from the perspective of will it change financial decision making, right? So in 2024, only 20% we said, well, would you use financial AI for financial advice? Only 20% said yes, but a big swath, 21% said they don't know. I imagine this is 2024. I imagine that if we ask this question today, it's going to be significantly higher. Kind of the point being that AI is here and it's being used, but increasingly for financial decision making. So, that's potentially a skill set that people are going to need to have. How do you use AI in a way that's going to give you kind of informed and objective and helpful financial information? We see big demographic differences, right? Men are much more likely to use it. And we also see a kind of a consistent race-based difference with white adults saying, not so much at 14%, but Black, Hispanics, and AAPI saying, they're much more likely to say, almost double in some cases, to say that they would use AI for financial decision making. So this, like, we have our eye on this. Everybody has our eye on this. You guys probably have your eye on this. This is it's kind of trite to say, but it is a game changer in terms of how people will be making financial decisions in the future. The other kind of emerging issue, and there are many, I'm just doing 2 here because I got about 5 or so, 10 more minutes, is buy now, pay later. So we asked again, 2024, late 2024, have you used buy now, pay later? And about a quarter said, yeah, they did. And we see pretty big age-based differences as you would expect. Only 13% of 55 plus. The thing about buy now, pay later is, and if anybody has any thoughts about it on this call, I'd love to hear it. We're not sure what to make of it. So out of the gates, we're kind of skeptical. You can get hit with large fees. I mean, you could buy like Taco Bell and stuff on buy now, pay later. And if you get, you might spend $10 on a meal and you'll get hit with a $10 fee. That's an incredibly high fee relative to what you're paying if you're late. So um, we're not sure what to make of it, but recently I saw a paper that said that an academic paper, it hasn't been published yet, but it's under review, saying that, buy now, pay later has some benefits that we shouldn't overlook in terms of, like, for example, helping improve people's credit scores and things like that. So the last section, I'll pause for a second, see if there's any questions, and then we'll just kind of go into the investment world, and then we can wrap up after that.
Did you say that you wanted to hear opinions about the buy now?
If you had them, yeah, because it's something we're wrestling with, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, and fintech more generally. Like, everybody, I think there's an assumption that fintech is good, but fintech might not be good. It depends how it's used. So yes, if anyone has an opinion, I'd love to hear it.
Okay, my opinion on fintech is it's partially on the technology to educate you. It can make things really, really easy, but the convenience sometimes can take away from the decision making, which is what people use to experience things and then continue to make better decisions. If your decisions are automated or there for you, you kind of don't learn as much, but some people need that. So I feel like it's a thing of knowing yourself and knowing how to use the technology correctly. And it's pushed a lot more for younger people. I say this because, I'm currently in college. I just graduated a couple years ago, but we were raised with technology and even in school. So if you find an easier way to do things, that is our easier way to do things. So we're more likely to do so. But when it comes to older, generations, like, they don't know how to use it as much. So it can be a lot more complicated. It also depends on the level of technology in it. Like, I use this investing app and the amount of technology used is controlled by me, but I understand how to use the app. Someone who doesn't know how to use the app may use it incorrectly and, might financially put themselves in a awkward situation because they didn't understand what was going on. When it comes to the buy now, pay later, because I know how loans work with banks and things of that sort, I'm weary of it, just me personally. But I feel like our generation, because there's also more flexibility in how you get paid, with the like at Amazon, if you would like to, you can use your daily pay and get paid daily from what you work. So now there's more of being able to do so that's, I guess, a more normalized thing. If I can get my daily pay, I can also pay this off later. And it used to be a lot different with banks because you had to go in, you had to ask for a loan, you had to give reasons and whatnot. Now it's just like you can sign up for a Klarna account and it'll break down your payments. It'll tell you what days you have to pay it back. It's up to you. So that's my explanation.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful to get that insight. And yeah, it's in some instances it could be good, in some instances it could be bad, it sounds like. And you point out some probably significant demographic differences in how it's being used. So yeah, thanks for that.
You're
Mark,
welcome.
there's a question/comment in the chat that's from Mark that says, I would be super curious to learn more about how buy now, pay later can help with credit building.
Yeah, well, some BNPL lenders are now sharing data with the credit agencies, so that's kind of new. So I think, well, again, if it could hurt as well, I guess it's a double-edged sword. But I'll see if I could dig up that academic paper. I just heard about it this week. Somebody was presenting on it to see if they go into a little more detail about how that's driving it.
Okay, thank you.
It's a good question. Investor, I'll kind of hit this quickly. I think we have about 5 more minutes left if my math is right. So we also ask about kind of investors, and this is a kind of I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide other than to say in America, when you think of the investing public, there's three buckets, and it's a third, a third, a third. A third of households have no investment accounts. A third of households only have retirement investment accounts, think mostly 401ks. And a third of households have both. They have retirement accounts and taxable investment accounts outside of retirement. So since there's a large group of households that don't have investment accounts, we can't ask that in the main survey because it wouldn't be relevant to a lot of people. So we do is if they say they have a taxable investment account, we follow up with them and basically ask them some questions. So a couple key takeaways here. Since 2015, we've seen the percentage of US adults that say, hey, I have investments outside of my retirement accounts growing from 30%, 32, and then up to 35% in 2021. I know that's a 5 percentage point increase in people saying, hey, I have an investment account. But that's like on a relative basis, that's about 17 points, right? It's a 17% jump. So this was a trend that we loved because the trend was being driven by three demographic groups. It was being driven by young adults, diverse investors, investors of color, and then also males. So we weren't thrilled about the males, and that's fine, but we were kind of, because we want to see more women investing, but we were happy to see younger adults and investors of color kind of coming into the markets and potentially benefiting from the markets. That stopped in 2024. It kind of went down a little. We can call it flat. That was discouraging. And it's also discouraging to see, all right, why did it stop? Why did that growth stop? And it's because I'll focus on age here. The bot in the middle there, the under 35 is the blue line, a 6 percentage point drop in US adults under 35 saying that they have an investment account. And if you look at the left there, men were down 3%. If you look at the right there, non-white was down, 4 percentage points, right? So basically, the same group that kind of came rushing in over the years left. And one of the concerns we have is that young, diverse adults, young male, diverse adults, that's who's kind of using the gambling apps in the prediction markets, right? So we have an eye on that. We're a little concerned that essentially these adults might be leaving the traditional investments and heading to gambling and prediction markets. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. And I think I just have a couple more slides here. The world is different today, right? Social media is ubiquitous, obviously. So, we want to know where people are getting their investing information from. And we were particularly interested in social media. Only 29% said they were getting it from social media, which we thought was kind of low. But then when you cut it by age, it's the young adults, 18-34, it's 60% of saying they're getting their investing information from social media, and it drops to like 9% for the older adults. So among the population we're most interested in right now, which is the younger and diverse adults, there's a pretty heavy use of social media. And what platform are they using? It is YouTube. YouTube is king. And we see, again, this is something we see consistently. It's nearly double the nearest platform, which is Reddit. And if you kind of slice this by age, you would see the same thing. You would see that younger adults are using YouTube more than older adults. But YouTube is by far and away the most commonly used platform for educating themselves about investing and other things, I imagine, as well. And I think this is the last slide. Social media, influencers, we call them finfluencers, but so we want to know, are people listening to finfluencers? That is social media personalities doling out advice and even buy recommendations on social media. And this surprised us, right? So that's the actual wording of the question. How often do you make investment decisions based on recommendations from a social media personality? Again, we didn't use the term influencer because we weren't sure if everybody would know what that meant. And we were surprised that 26% said sometimes or frequently. When you do marketing research, which I did way back early in my career, people don't want to admit that they're influenced by advertising or influenced by people. Or they typically like to view themselves as being kind of independent and making their own decisions. But yet a quarter of the people said, hey, yeah, I made an investment decision based on what a influencer said. We see these age-based correlations all over the place, younger people using it more. And I've went a little quickly through the end there, but I think that's it. I won't go through the takeaways, but they're here on the slides. I'm happy to make the slides available to you. These are just summarizing essentially what I just talked about. And I will say that we also, in these slides, have some resources you can go out to. And that is, there's a lot of good resources here. So, definitely avail yourself of those. And with that, I think I'm almost at time, but I'll pause to see if there's a question or two. Okay, well, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. You could always, on our website, you could actually send me an email. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Go to the website. You could download all the data for Maryland. If you have a hard time finding it, our website is not the most intuitive. Let me know. But thanks again for the opportunity to speak today.
Yeah. And thank you so much, Gary. This was wonderful information and great resources. And I am quite sure that folks will be taking advantage of the information that you provided to us. And now we are about to take a 10-minute break, folks. So please come back and join us at 3:40. We have another great speaker lined up for you.
Please come back. We're real excited to have a workshop here today. As you heard the previous speaker, Gary, talking about the method of information that's out there on social media. He mentioned that 60% of young adults are obtaining their financial information from social media. So I'm really excited. My name is Sue Rogan. I'm the moderator for this incredible workshop called Scroll Like Regret, Vetting Financial Advice on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. We're very excited to have an expert speaker, Lynn McHann, with us today. Lynn is an accredited financial counselor, or AFC, dedicated to helping individuals and families build greater financial clarity, stability, and confidence. With a background in financial counseling, education, and coaching, she specializes in translating complex financial concepts into practical strategies that people can understand and use. Her work is grounded as a compassionate, judgment-free philosophy and a deep commitment to making financial education both accessible and meaningful. Lynn is especially passionate about supporting those navigating debt, financial stress, and significant life changes, offering guidance that is both empathetic and action-oriented. Through her workshops and presentation, Lynn combines professional expertise, real-world insight, and an engaging delivery style to create learning experiences that leave audiences feeling informed, encouraged, and equipped to take the next step. So Lynn, welcome. We're so excited you're here.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Sue. And I'm excited to be here. And I would like to just kind of start out by learning a little bit about who we have in the group today. So if you guys wouldn't mind and just drop in the chat, what field do you work in? So it gives me an idea of where you all come from so I can make sure to cater this to help everybody. Housing counseling, okay. Nonprofit, victim services. Wow, we've got a lot of different ones going on. This is awesome. Yes, 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 yes. Current college student, I like that one because you can share with peers. So that's awesome. So wonderful. Thank you everyone for participating on that. I think everybody is going to find something that they're going to take away from this and be able to use, whether it's in practice, in teaching, or just helping out others with this knowledge. So in 5 words or less, hopefully we can do this. And I want to make this as interactive as possible with such a large group. I want you to tell me in 5 words or less, the last post or video you read on social media that had to do with financial advice. Let's see what we come up with. People are typing, hopefully. Saving for retirement. Yep. Seminar available next week. Limited seats, I'm sure, in that seminar. Meme stock, lots of those. Roth IRAs, yep. Yep. Some of these are great. They're great, but we'll talk about why they might not be so great depending on what context. Investment guidelines, okay. Budgeting app ad, yes. Day trading, yes. Bitcoin. Buying a home, yeah, so I mean, just from these responses, so-called tax strategies, love it. Um, just by these responses, you can see that there is the gamut out there for social media as far as finding information on really anything of the financial nature. So, what we're going to talk about though is how can we wade through that and help our clients or students wade through that to find out what's the truth and what is not. So, um, let me hop over to this screen. So just to go over a little bit about the agenda so you know what to expect from me today. First, we're going to talk about what that landscape looks like and why clients trust what I call finfluencers. You've probably heard that term before. As well as, I mean, you see people out there that are finfluencers like there's like the money audit, there's Ramit Sethi, you see a lot of those different ones out there. The big one, Dave Ramsey, of course. They're all can be considered finfluencers. But what people don't think about as finfluencers sometimes are those TikTok videos where people are talking about, hey, this is what my method is to either A, get rich, B, use my money, those sorts of things. So those are also people that I consider finfluencers because people are influenced by what they're creating on social media. We're going to talk about the red flags and the psychology of what and the virality, or AKA what when our brains love those bad takes. Vetting and framework. So I'm going to give you guys some tools that you can use coming away from this. You can use them in the classroom, you can use them in your practice, but they're a good way to get clients and students thinking about how they're vetting their information online. And then we're going to teach through some strategies that you could go out and use tomorrow in your practice or in your classroom, and then do some case studies towards the end if we've got time. I've got a few of those. And then also, as we go through, if you guys want to ask questions as we go along, I'm happy to answer those as we go along, but there will be a question and answer section at the end of it today. So if you want to hold your questions, that's fine, and ask them at the end, or ask them as we go if you think you might forget them. So let's get started. So in the box one are just some of the popular places that we see financial advice. I'm going to guess that a lot of those that you put up there in your 5 words or less came from these sites here, or from relatives maybe that are giving advice online too. And then the second one is I want you to think about, and if you have this, great. If not, but what was the number of, or percentage, if you want to do some math, of your last 10 students or clients that brought you ideas or questions that they heard on social media? What would you say that is? You can just throw that in the chat. None. The chat is quiet now. That's okay. Probably 50. Okay. I like that. Thanks, Megan. I see it a lot. I see it in the young folks, being that they either talk to me about things that they've seen or want to invest in. And I also see it on the other end of people that I work with that are like ages 65 and up, that are coming to me with questions about if it's a scam, if things they've heard of, things they've seen. Sometimes even if they've asked ChatGPT, that seems to be the now go-to financial advisor for a lot of people, which can be scary too. So yeah, another one, 50%, especially consumer protection classes. Yes. 80. Yeah. Family members for sure. And it's great that they're asking you these questions, that they found someone that they can ask that with. So as Sue mentioned, my statistics are a little bit lower, but they're also a couple years older. A federal report showed that 38% of 18 to 35-year-olds use social media for financial advice. And this is compared to about 18% of 36 to 55-year-olds. So it's being used across the spectrum. It's just more so on the young adult end. And then just give me a guess on what you guys think that the highest platform is for getting advice or seeing financial content that you think is that got a quick one. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Yep. Insta, YouTube, TikTok. Well, so it actually is YouTube. So YouTube is the number one, followed closely by TikTok. So thinking about that is kind of scary to me. But, you know, if we're trusting or if we've got clients trusting these platforms for their everyday news, you know, you think, well, what else do they trust it for? Finances is a lot, especially since the thing I hear over and over again in my practice is one, why wasn't I taught this in high school? You know, no one ever talked to me about this. You know, I can only find this by Googling it, those sorts of things. So they are looking for advice, but they may be looking in the wrong places or not analyzing what they're receiving as far as that information. And as we know, these sites do not fact check before they put up their before people are allowed to publish. You can publish anything out there. So, you know, now that we apply this to financial advice, and then put that advice on platforms, it gets really scary because people are actually taking this advice and really doing damage to themselves, and their financial well-being. So yes, so we've got, I want you to imagine, so you can close your eyes if you imagine better that way, but these platforms as people. So if you think of YouTube, YouTube is more of like a substitute in a high school chemistry class with no chemistry background that just has a PowerPoint. So that's really what you're getting out of those YouTube videos a lot of times with the financial stuff. Now, Facebook, what does Facebook look like if we put them in human form? This is going to be the uncle who loves handing out advice and doesn't know when to stop. And of course, that advice is probably not the best. It's based upon their experience only, and maybe not even that. It's just something they heard. The third one is TikTok. So TikTok is that hyperactive kid in a class, that they've convinced everyone that they're the expert on something. So understanding this will help you with those clients that come in, who are convinced that they will retire by 30 investing in crypto or flipping Funko Pops because they think that is the way that they are going to get one rich or be able to, like I said, retire by the time they're 30. So understanding kind of their perspective and how they're kind of viewing these things and how they actually should view them. Feel free to use those, turning those platforms into people for them, because that might actually give them a good visual to walk away with and keep reminding them when they're on those platforms. But by the time these clients or students come to you, they have more than likely already basically had an intro to personal finance, the Finfluencer edition. So you're not only starting from scratch, you're kind of starting behind the eight ball with them, and your job is now to do some damage control. Because, you know, again, they're coming in with knowledge, but that knowledge is not necessarily something that's going to help them be financially stable. So let's look at the good. I've now really harped on finfluencers and some negatives, but I do want to state that there is some good out there. And, you know, sometimes if you think about it, hearing financial advice from us, and I put myself in this category too, as being a parent and grandparent, it's like me saying to my kids or grandkids, eat your vegetables. But if they hear the same thing from somebody who's 23 with great hair, they hear more of eat dessert first. Which one are you going to follow more? You know, so it's not necessarily the fact that all of these are bad. It's just what is their background and teaching people how to discern that. And that's what we'll get into in a few slides. You know, finfluencers have the ability to slide into people's feeds like textbooks can't. So it's a financial education in stealth mode, if you want to think of it like that. And it's delivered between those lovely cat videos that I'm sure I'll admit that I watch, or goats. I love baby goats, and memes. So it's put in there in short, bite-sized content that's how they like getting their information, and they take it in. And again, it can be a good thing if the advice is good and it's leading to some good education. And the good ones that are out there do have a huge positive impact. And that, you know, I'm sure you can think of a few that you like that you maybe listen to on podcasts or you do watch, you know, some YouTube videos on. And if you've got some good ones, feel free to throw those in the chat for other people to check out too. I'm always up for a good podcast. So, but they can have a good effect. It's just what they're delivering and what their intentions are. So when the uh-oh comes into effect and where it goes sideways. So have you ever seen a TikTok video or a YouTube video that makes paying down debt sound like making a smoothie? It's so easy. I don't understand why you're not all doing it this way. You know, easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? I've seen those, and we all know as professionals that it's not that easy, and there is some thought and planning that needs to go into it, and there's no instant fixes, unfortunately. So the other thing too is if a video ends in use my code, odds are you're a product and you're not a client or student of theirs. They're thinking of you as a product. And then nothing says trust me like a 15-second reel on how to earn 30% in crypto, guaranteed, of course, guaranteed, that's filmed in a rented Lambo. So, you know, they are going for, you know, the clicks, the likes, all of that. They're not going for the intent of the education behind it. So that's where it goes awry when we're talking about social media with regards to financial education. So then, why do we fall for this? You know, we can look at it as educators in this field, or professionals that have been doing it a while, like, why would anyone think that is relevant? Well, again, you got to take a step back and think about, we've been educated in it. They have not. And there's something called the illusionary truth effect, where repetition equals it feels true. And the most, you know, the best thing I could say about this, especially this time of year where I'm at, because we're having midterms here, is all of the signs you see for political people out there. You know, it's like the more you see the signs when you go to vote, if you haven't done your research, it's like, oh, I remember that name because I saw their sign or this great slogan. Same thing when you're dealing with the internet. If you see it enough, it feels true. And this becomes dangerous because it does allow misinformation to be put out there. And misinformation, it's horrible with this. So think of it like this. Another, if you want to close your eyes, misinformation is like puts on its sweatpants, moves into your brains, and starts forwarding its mail there if you're hearing something enough and it feels true. So the second thing is social proof. I don't know how much you've studied social proof or looked into like the research on it, especially for our younger adults, but if you've got 1 million likes on a video, that's a peer review stamp of approval. And so you've got 1 million people or even 1,000 people that are saying, yes, I like this, which translates to it's true and I should follow or join in or I'm going to miss out, that FOMO. And then 3, a lot of the finfluencers come across as being very, they have authority. So think of it that you add a ring light and a blazer, and suddenly Chad from TikTok has the same influence over people as Warren Buffett did on previous generations. Um, I say that a little flippant, but it's true. It's true. And they're looking at these people like we would have looked at, some great investors like Warren Buffett in the past. So just looking at that from their point of view can really help how you structure and focus the conversation moving forward. All right. So let's take a look at, again, whoops, I went backwards. Apologize. Um, Algorithms, and I've done a lot of looking into this, and I'm sure most people have heard of algorithms and know what they are, but platforms don't care, again, if it's true. Like I said before, there's no fact checking in this. They just let people post pretty much whatever they want to post. What the people posting care about and what the platforms care about is if you've watched it twice and sent it to your cousin. That's all they care about when they're looking at how highly they rate videos and how the algorithm works to get those videos into people's feeds. So as you watch the video and you think of the person saying, it would really help me out if you hit that like button and subscribe. That's what they're looking for, because that boosts them as far as where their algorithm is on the platform. Therefore, they're making more money off of that, or they're driving more people to whatever product they're trying to sell. So think about it like this. Platforms are like toddlers. The louder they are, the more attention they get. And so that's exactly what they're looking for, is that attention. And then that's number 3, where we're looking at the virility versus validity on this. This is where you all come in and can make a difference. So we need to educate on discernment and critical thinking. I'm going to get a little bit more into critical thinking as we get into some more slides, because it is so important. Young adults these days have trouble with critical thinking because in a social media environment, especially growing up in one, it rewards speed, emotion, repetition, popularity, and confidence over careful evaluation. So that's the mindset they're in. That's not saying they can't have critical thinking. They just have not been taught that based upon the environment that they've grown up in. And that's the one thing that is super important when we're helping educate them on catching red flags in what they're looking at online. And again, this can translate from not only finances and looking at financial information online, it kind of goes across the board on when they're discerning information for other things online as well. So I mentioned red flags, and we are going to look at some of those red flags. So you guys read through these statements, and I'm sure looking at these statements, it will raise more red flags than a circus for you all. But for those who struggle with the critical thinking, these statements may seem like sound advice. And a little bit later, I'm going to show you kind of how you can approach that conversation with them without making them feel bad for thinking that this is sound advice. Okay. So the next red flag that you want to teach them to look for, or for yourself as well when you're discerning information online, is number 1, like affiliate links, referral codes, excuse me, I can't talk right now, and undisclosed sponsorship. So the FTC guidelines, so there are some guidelines around this. Whether they're following them or not is another matter. But FTC does state that if you are being paid or gifted a product to promote something, you need to disclose it as hashtag ad or hashtag sponsored. camouflaging this does not equal disclosure. So it needs to be out there where an average person would see it. You know, there's always that little tiny fine print or somewhere they tried to hide it or they don't do it at all. But if they are promoting anything, they need to have those on there to be able to pass the FTC guidelines for that. So, you know, someone saying, I am not a financial advisor, but but always like negates whatever was said before that. But it's the equivalent of, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV, and here's my medical advice for you. So, you know, based on that, it's, you know, looking at what's beyond them saying that they're a financial advisor or guru or professional. And then talking with clients about the importance of keeping their personal information private, so they don't end up on lead lists. Because a lot of times the things they're watching are just made there for lead magnets, like to get their email address, something like that. I tell clients, you know, to set up a different email that they give out for things like this if they're worried about it, so that they're not being spammed in their main email. And it's just one that they can check if they want to, but it's so that you're not giving out your normal email, and then again keeping everything else just private. Nobody needs to know that unless you're in a really a relationship with them in some sort of way. Let's see. And then, so we're going to take a look at some more red flags, but with regarding fuzzy credentials. So anyone can call themselves a coach. We need to educate on that a coach does not equal an expert and what that actually means. And that's usually by credentials. The second thing here is a personal story can be powerful and valuable, but alone does not equate or qualify you as an expert. Now, saying that, I personally, when I'm talking to someone that I'm meeting for the first time in a coaching or counseling situation, part of my introduction to them is giving them a background on why I got into what I'm doing, and that is my personal story. And I do that one for impact, because it does have sometimes a powerful impact, and two, making me more relatable to my client. But then I follow it up with, I've been financial coaching for over 20 years. I've, you know, I'm accredited, and tell them we're through, and giving them my pedigree and my background. So I use a personal story, but follow that up with my credentials. And then the third one, I love the third one. So watch out for word salads like behavioral macro day swing investor since 2019. If it sounds like a word salad with a side of ego, just beware. It's something that, you know, okay, if I'm going to go look that up, what am I going to find? You know, they're not in, tell me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I don't think there's any credentials that go along go along with that. But it sounds good. They've been doing it for a while, so why wouldn't I trust them, right? So just understanding kind of what your clients or students are coming up against when they're looking at these, and how to recognize those like fuzzy credentials or people trying to make themselves off as an expert. And then, so the last thing for red flags are what the tactics and tells can be. So if someone is using pressure or secrecy, it's because the actual value can't stand on its own. So big one, again, I'll mention is FOMO, the fear of missing out. And the you know, we all have that to some extent, I do think, but they will play on that very hard. The pressure, like, you know, this is only, I think we saw one on there, sign up for this seminar next week, and they're probably going to say only 10 spots remain, or, you know, this and that, or sign up for this free seminar, which, yes, it probably is free, but what we want to encourage our students and clients to know is that when you're in there, it's like oh, what is it? A timeshare presentation. That's what they're going to without the great breakfast that you get or the free tickets to a Vegas show. So just understanding that they're there to sell them something for these free, usually seminars. And then just also, again, it's just pressure and secrecy. People use that. It's an old sales tactic. They'll also use what's called the takeaway close, like, if they are talking with someone like, oh, if you don't jump on this, I'm gonna have to move to the next person, type thing. So a lot of sales tactics. Again, red flag, if it has only really, really good testimonials and good reviews, it's like restaurants that only have 5-star reviews. Yes, it could be a wonderful restaurant, but if you don't see anything negative there, there's some suspicion that those negative ones are being deleted. And then some creators will use the last one as kind of this invisible legal cloak for themselves, thinking that this is only for education, but then they get into it, they're actually looking to sell them something. So it's again just being alert and being able to recognize these things as they're trying to figure out if this is a good deal or not. So now some tools that I promised you earlier on. So we're going to look at a few of these. The first one, called SIFT, was developed by Mike Caffield. He's a digital literacy expert, and he developed this to help people determine whether online content can be trusted. And so, again, like I said before, not only for financial, but for really any online content that you want to vet, you can use this one. And then two, money, because we can never have enough acronyms, right, in our field. We need one more. So money it is. And both of these can be used in about 90 seconds, in under 90 seconds to look at something. So it's something that, again, with the younger generation is nice because it's quick. It's something they can do as a bite-size research. And so the first one, let's take a look at it and SIFT. What does it stand for? And I'll let you guys read through those, and then I'm just going to add to those. So the number one, does it sound too good to be true? So what we're doing here is if it does sound good to be true, we want to stop scrolling and start thinking. The next one, who is this person? Are they credentialed, or are they just cool and confident? So that's something that we want them to look for and think about. Number three, if the only proof is, hey, bro, just trust me, we need to keep digging. And then four, so screenshots, I don't know if you've noticed this on like a lot of the videos, they'll do screenshots of things. Screenshots do not equal sources. What you'd want to encourage them to do is go to the original source, if they could even find that from the screenshot. So again, digging in and seeing where that information is coming from, not just trusting who's giving out that information. And the next one is money, and this is finance specific. So the M, are they here to educate or sell you something? What is their motivation? So two, oversight. Would it pass the SEC, FINRA, FTC sniff test? If you go and look up any credentials or their names, would they be on there? Are they following the rules? We want to make sure that what they're providing would be okay under these agencies' oversight. And then the next one, the numbers. Are they real numbers, or are they just vibes and adjectives? So it's one, again, those things that, is it too good to be true? What is the history of, hey, I like to pick on crypto a lot because I hear it a lot in my practice. But, earning, 30 to 50% on crypto. Okay, well, show me how that was done. So what's the backstory to that? And then looking at expertise. So, does their name or credentials survive a Google search? I mean, that's an easy one. Just searching them on Google and seeing what comes up. Any feedback. What negative things is Reddit saying about them? I know lots of people go to Reddit for stuff like that. And then the last one, yield. If there is no downside mention, guess who gets left holding the bag? Usually the student or client, depending on who it is. You're not only educating them you're a sounding board for your clients. So you want to encourage them, and we'll talk about how you can do that here in just a couple slides. Encourage them to come to you if they've got questions. So if they have done these steps and they're like, I'm not so sure about the numbers. I'm gonna go ask Lynn about this and see what she thinks. And then knowing that you're that sounding board and being open to that. I know a lot of times that's what I do with clients, is to just talk them through things that they've heard or seen and whether or not it's legitimate or not. So then, verify the human. Again, credential lookups. This one, I'm not going to say a whole lot about, because I'm sure you know or familiar with a lot of these sites, but you know, broker check, the CFP, the AFCPE, I see all these acronyms. These are like a Google Map for finances. So you'll find out quickly if you're on track, or, if you're headed to a dark alley with this person, as far as their financial advice goes, because real professionals leave a paper trail. So that's just a good thing to point out to them. Okay, so there is a question. Is there someone or person or organization accredited with developing the money check? Actually, I came up with it myself, but feel free to use it. So it's not, and if you search out like money acronyms, you're gonna find a lot of those out there. This was just one that I catered to this specific area. So, but yes, it's free to use. So no issues there. Thank you for the question. And Sue, if I'm missing any other questions, let me know.
We'll do. There's some things we'll get to later, but go ahead.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so I'm just going to let you kind of look at this chart for a minute while I tell you of some fun examples of people that were naughty and actually got charged. The first one by the SEC. So in 2022, Kim Kardashian failed to disclose her financial relationship with Emacs while promoting their tokens. And so you're probably not ever going to find that on Kim Kardashian's feed or her, Facebook or whatever she's on, her show, but she did get in trouble for that. And so they are regulating this, just not enough, in my opinion. And then last year, a gentleman by the name of James Florini, he goes by Jnomics in Alberta. So this one's in Canada. So Alberta Securities Council sanctioned him for promoting securities on social media without disclosing it was a paid advertisement. So they are out there and they are busting people, but it's mainly these big influencers that are getting caught, and not those little guys that have smaller followings. So just something to be aware of, that yes, the regulation is out there. Does it work for all of it? No. Just like any other aspect of our regulations in our government, they can't catch everybody. So it's up to us to be safe and do our research. So here's where I talk a little bit about how you can use this in your practice besides the SIFT and the money to help people understand what's going on. So the first one is called lateral reading drills, a 2-tab or more technique. So what this is, it's like financial CrossFit. So it builds fact-checking muscles. And how it works is instead of staying on one website or post, which is considered vertical reading, so you've done a research, you clicked on something and you're reading about it. What you want to do is open a new tab and do another search, and compare that info and research to what the other source says too. So what this is getting at is that just because you search it and click on something, that may not also be something that's accurate. You have to do some more in-depth research, and that does take a little bit of time. But I think that if we encourage and educate our students and clients that this is going to save them a ton of money in the long run, not falling for scams, they'll be with it. The next one is doing a two truths and a lie with using viral clips. So just going out there, finding a clip that maybe just outrageous. One that comes to mind that I just saw was somebody promoting that they are going to just spend all their money. They're not going to save. And why is that? Because they can always make more money, right? So if I run out of money, I'll just make more money and I'm not going to save. And that's how I'm going to live my life. So one thing that just jumps out, and if you guys want to throw it in the chat before I say what I think jumps out at that, what are they missing in that advice? As far as if a client came to you and said, hey, why do I need to save? I'll just keep earning money. What would be something you would tell your client? And you can throw that in the chat. And so you would want to come up with some of these videos you could show and have like two truths and a lie or two lies and a truth. Unemployment, yep, especially in this. What if you aren't able to learn? Very good. Disability, yep. What if there's an emergency? You just work more hours, right? Health issues, count for your daily needs. Yep. One of the things that I would take time to educate the client on is compound interest, especially for those young ones that we're talking with, because having them understand the fact of saving early and saving often and what that means and looks like later on down the road, and then getting into the fact that health issues, disability, job loss, all of that can come up, and why it's important to have that savings as a safety net, and showing them that it is a reality that they can save and have money for retirement, because right now they're feeling like they can't. They just want to enjoy life right now, not have to wait. So, yes, everything you guys have said is perfect on that. But yeah, so that scared me, and I had a ton of views. This video did, and so that would be one I would use as the lie. And then finding some finfluencers that give trustworthy advice, like I said earlier, Ramit Sethi, Dave Ramsey, those that, are actually giving advice to people, using those as your two truths. Another one would be as doing the sift in the money. So creating a checklist for your clients, making those things into something that they can use. You could do that digitally, you can do that on paper, whatever you use for your practice. And then the last one is this is fun if you're teaching anywhere from littles, which is grade school, all the way through college. My college kids, when I taught college, loved playing bingo, especially when I had prizes. So making up a red flag bingo, and there are bingo generators that you can just fill out online that are free, that'll create the cards for you. It's awesome. So no matter the age, people love playing bingo. So that's one way to get them, and it works great too for really any studying that you're doing with students, to get them to learn it in a fun way. So just some ideas that you can use to kind of teach through these concepts. So I usually do this in a smaller group and do breakout rooms, but since we're a larger group, I'm going to do this as a chat. So we're going to look at some case studies. I'm just looking at my time because I want to leave some time for questions. About how much time do I have left, Sue?
We've
got a good 8 minutes.
Okay, cool. We could probably get through one or two of these. We'll see. So you're going to reply in the chat. So I'm going to show you a case study and then I'm going to ask you some questions on that. Okay. So go ahead and get your typing fingers ready. So here's the case study. Here's your claim. So you can pay your mortgage off in 5 years with this simple bank trick. So what are some red flags you see with that statement? Too good to be true. Yep, simple. 5 years, really? Yep, I'll sign you up. Unrealistic. Yes. Yes, yes. Too good to be true. Tricky versus strategy. Yep. Bank trick. Yes. Simple and bank in the same sentence. I love it. I love it. Okay. So if you were guiding your client, would you give them like what would you tell them to either look for or a better resource that they could go to if they're looking at wanting to pay their mortgage off quicker? Oh. Their lender? Yep. Calculators online. I love bankrate.com. I should get promoted for them or promotional. Yep, Bankrate. I love Bankrate. Their calculators are awesome. And so why might people fall for this or sign up for it? Simple. Yep. Yep. That's a big one. So tempting, so fast, easy, simple, time frame. Who wouldn't want to pay their mortgage off in, instead of what is it, the new 40-year mortgage or 50-year mortgage they have in 5 years? Convenience. Yes. So something to look at here is, either if there's any pressure tactics or false scarcity, secrets, unrealistic claims you guys mentioned, appeals to emotion, too good to be true. You guys covered a lot of the ones I had down. Good job. So wonderful. So yes, so let's look at the next one. We'll do one more. So the claim is, I can tell you how to do $500 a day selling options with no risk. Plus a referral link to the broker. Why not zero risk? Christina, why not? No risk? Question mark. Yeah, I know, right? Total flag. There's a risk in bonds, I mean, in anything financial, we know that. But getting them to look at and really analyze, those statements is so important. So things that you want to watch out for is, or, if someone brings you, this ad or this TikTok video is they sometimes will call people students, giving the assumption that the poster is an educator. And unfortunately, that plays upon people's feelings for educators. As an educator, they feel like you should be trusted. And so if they're putting themselves out there like that, they're wanting to build and have that air of trust. So which is not the case. I mean, like I said before, you're probably a product to them. And then looking at if they use the word enrollment or signing up, that is another big thing to watch out for and having your clients watch out for. So good job, you guys. Yeah, and again, we could take the opportunity for this to educate our clients and doing it in a way that, makes them feel empowered. So, whoops, I'm going to skip that one. now I wanted to put this out there because I'm always for people with the background, education, and expertise becoming a content creator. And you can be the antidote if you want to put yourself out there like this. And not everybody does, and that's okay. But just some guidance on that. Again, don't fight clickbait with clickbait. And we all know what clickbait is. It's easy to fall into that, especially if you're really wanting to grow so you can educate more people. You want to fight it with clarity and education, over turning to clickbait. Now, I'm absolutely not saying you can't be entertaining. Just be transparent. You can be entertaining without taking advantage of people or giving them misinformation. You just want to be transparent about everything that you're doing. And then being a model for what the good looks like. You want to be trustworthy, but not boring. So those are things to think about if you are looking at creating content. Again, unfortunately, in the bite-size information world we live in, we've got to learn how to do content in ways that capture their attention, gives them good information, and guides them to good decisions. So thinking through that and how you can do that is wonderful. So I encourage anyone out there that wants to do that, please do that. We need more people that know what they're talking about on there. So I really quickly kind of want to go over this. I give you good examples on screen, and what I'm going to do is tell you bad examples. So for number one, you've got a client that comes to you that, saw TikTok. They really want to know more about it. A good response is that first one there. A bad response would be something like, tell me you're not actually making money decisions based on TikTok. Because what we're looking for here is we never want to make the client or student feel dumb about their interest in something. We want to use it as an opportunity to educate. So the second one, a no-no would be like, you didn't even check their credentials. And then for the last one, do not say, that is not a financial strategy. That is a TikTok craft project gone wrong. So, like, nailed it, right? It's funny, but again, thinking about where they're coming from, you don't want them to feel dumb about coming to you for those questions. And yes, don't stay away from shaming them. Again, I sometimes have to practice what I say because if you haven't told already, I can sometimes be, a smart aleck or quippy with stuff. And I have to make sure that comes across okay, especially when I'm dealing with clients, because I never want them to feel like them having questions and coming to me about that is something that's a negative. So again, resources that you can share, going through the presentation. I think Sue said she's providing my slides, so you'll have all this information, if you want it, but how to look up things, how to do the SIFT and the money, and then also what regulation sites can they go to if they're interested in seeing, if people are on there. One thing I wanted to put on there was the Caulfield, that I mentioned before. His is it's called the Stanford Civic Online Reasoning, and with that, they offer free lessons to help teach people to evaluate online information and how it affects them. So it's a great free resource if you wanted to use it for your classroom or even in your practice. So. And then just so you know, I'm not full of it. I've included my references for creating this workshop for you. And then ask me anything except how to turn $100 into 10,000 by Friday. And thank you all. I appreciate all of your participation in the chat too.
Awesome, Lynn. Thank you so much. This has been
You're
such great
welcome.
information and examples. There's just a couple of really comments and things for maybe to think about or to
Sure.
point out from
Yeah.
the chat. The most recent one, I just wanted to point out that Hillary was talking about when you were describing and talking about how to talk to clients and students, about not making them feel bad for having gotten some information, from social media. And she's mentioning that she would acknowledge them for seeking information, that
Yes.
they're trying to learn.
Yep. Yep, and that's always wonderful. Anything you can do to encourage them and their learning, and especially encouraging them to be able to come to you as a expert resource is so important.
Agreed. Thank you. And then
Yeah.
one earlier on was talking about that they've seen, I think maybe participated in maybe free online, webinar or
hmm
workshop or something. And then if you want more information, that's when you hit the, oh, you got to pay more.
Yep. Yep. And I don't discourage people from going if they have an interest in it and listening to those sorts of things because, it might be something that is worth investing for yourself, but just being cautious and going into it with open eyes that you're not really getting something for nothing. They want to sell you something. Like I
Mhm.
said, like the timeshares.
Yeah. And then another comment in there was that the future is so far away, particularly for young adults, that it's hard for them to maybe focus and think about growing wealth.
hmm Yep. And so what I do with that when I run up against it is one, looking at retirement and that and growing your wealth as that is a long term, yes, but you need to have other financial savings goals along the way and shorter goals so that they're reaching those and accomplishing them, and then making saving for retirement as mindless as possible with like automatic deposits and those sorts of things so it doesn't even matter. It's just automatically coming out and going into savings, and sometimes that's better way for them to think, and get used to having money coming out of like their paycheck to go to savings and then increasing it by percentages. So it's really teaching them about like their savings and goal buckets, as they're moving through life and what that looks like. And again, there's short-term and long-term goals, and having those short-term goals is so important because then they get that gratification once they get to it and are able to do whatever they wanted to do with that money.
It keeps the motivation going to continue
Yep.
for long-term goals too.
Yep.
All right, we have a question on do you do training or have any tools for job scams on these
Mm.
platforms?
Um, so on oh, for like TikTok and those. Um, I don't have a specific training, but advice that I give to those that are job seeking that I do counsel on the financial side is, one, looking at, I had one yesterday that I met with a gal. She was being charged, or she was being paid like $10 to do an hour's worth of work that was supposed to be like an interview type thing, or a test to see if she could get the job. And really, what it was they're trying to one, get an hour's worth of work from her and ideas, with only paying her like the $10. So just understanding one, that their time is valuable. Two, are they talking to a robot? It's so hard right now because there's so many ghost jobs out there that are being posted. So, one, it's just don't give out your personal information. Don't work for, less than your time's worth. I've seen a lot of those. It's a valid way to interview, but you need to be paid for your time. So, keeping that in mind. But if you're interested, you could reach out to me. I think it was Mac. If you wanted something developed, for a training, I could definitely do that for you.
Thank you for that. I'd
Yeah.
certainly be interested in following up on that as well. So we're talking about social engineering would also be great to delve into with this topic.
Yes. Yes, that's great. Thank you. Yep.
And then Megan's talking about, just noticed more and more, all of us are very excited to incorporate those two acronyms that you shared with us into the classes that we're teaching. But Megan's noticing more and more participants in classes talking about tax tips that they hear, they've learned from social media. And so she really wants to share
hmm
those strategies, with them. So it's across the
Yeah.
board.
It is really any area of finance, and with that SIFT, really any area of online information you can use that with, and helping them develop those critical thinking skills is so important.
Agreed.
Yes, or say our recommendations. Yes, yes. I have clients who say their AI is now their boyfriend too. So it's an interesting world we're coming up on.
Yeah, and it's something that we all have to integrate because we just can't ignore it. It's there.
No,
People are
it's
using these
there.
things, and I love the way that you didn't frame this workshop with "don't use any information from any of these
Mhm.
platforms." You
Right.
know, that just shuts down the conversation with the person. Yeah.
It does. And to be honest, that is where most people are getting information from nowadays is social media platforms. It's just knowing how to sift through what's not true to find the truth.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I wanted to point out too that we had conversations with the SEC because, there's so much out there. People saying maybe the very beginning of their, 60-second whatever on TikTok going, I'm not giving investment advice. And then they go and continue to basically give investment
Yep.
advice, you know?
It's like it's that but. So whenever you say but, you're negating everything you said before that word. So and that's true in any conversation, just something to watch out for.
And like you mentioned, and Gary did somewhat in his presentation, the regulatory agencies are doing what they can do, but there's
Yep.
so much out there. They
Oh
just
yeah.
can't stop everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. They can't. And like I said, they're going after the big fishes, but those little fishes are causing a lot of damage as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And one last thing I also would point out too,
Mhm.
yeah, AI hallucinations are real. Guessing what we want to provide and providing that proof, critical thinking and fact checking is essential. Yeah, that is
Yep.
something that, as many educators do in their work, we probably also need to really do in our work to really start
Yep.
including critical thinking skills, in all the classes and the work that we're doing with people.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. And a lot of times, especially, I come from, one of the older generations now, it's I just take it as like, doesn't everyone think like this if it's too good to be true? But that's not the case. And especially those that were brought up on platforms, it's not the case. They haven't been taught that critical thinking and what that means. So it is anywhere you can put it in, I put it in for
mhm.
education purposes.
And I think your framing of the SIFT and money acronyms as 90-second checks. I think the
Mm-hmm.
more that we can say it'll take you a minute and a half to do this,
Right.
because we
Right.
all want information just like that.
Right.
So
Well, yeah, that's easy, right? We've got a lot of things we're doing in a day, so
right,
make it
yeah,
quick.
yes. And I love Megan's comment about it. It's not just for financial influencers, but also say for home reno and DIY. We also need to have those critical thinking skills. How many shows have you all seen where I'm like, you did not do that renovation for $30,000? I know you didn't.
Right, right. Or my
Seriously.
favorite is, House Hunters, where I always love it. Like, yeah, I'm a gerbil wrangler and my wife's a stay-at-home dog mom, but our budget's $1 million. People are seeing that and thinking they're actually going to get, you know, into something they can afford. And it's just one of those like, okay, You know, it's out there. So we need
Yeah.
to start our own shows. So everyone get working on that creativity and reach out to TLC. And-
And landlord friendly renos. Oh, it's something would definitely cost them their security deposit, right? Because they should not be doing that to their rental. Yeah.
Yep,
Good
yep,
comment. All right. Well,
definitely.
any last questions or comments for Lynn or anything to share with each other? Well, if not, please give me a big virtual round of
Thank
applause for Lynn.
you.
Thank you so much for being here and spending this time with
Yeah,
us to help us with this very difficult and very relevant topic. So we really,
yes, I
truly
appreciate you all
appreciate it.
being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And at this point, Christina, I think I toss it back to you.
Yep. Thank you, Sue.
I'll stop my.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. As we wrap up day one of the Financial Education Summit, I just want to take a quick moment to reflect on what we shared and what it means moving forward. So, as reinforced by all of our speakers, financial education isn't just numbers or developing a finite set of financial skills. It really requires some nuanced understanding of the individuals and communities being served and an openness to new frameworks for understanding behavior. This in turn really allows us to work with our clients where they are, as they are, and help them move forward. So today we explored a lot of different ideas that can help build stronger financial education programs. We learned a lot about policy and advocacy initiatives that promote financial well-being. We learned about the latest updates of financial capability research, and Lynn was here with us just a few seconds ago, really helping us get a better understanding of how to vet financial influencers and some of the best practices and tools that we can take to do that work and really help our clients and our students. We encourage you to revisit the resources shared, to continue asking questions and keep the conversation going. Recordings for day 1 and for day 2 of the 10th Annual Financial Education Summit will be available after the summit has concluded on the Maryland Cash Academy website. On behalf of our team, we want to thank you for being a part of the event, for your time, for your engagement, for all of your participation, and we hope that you leave feeling informed and empowered. We really want to make sure that we get your feedback, so we ask that you complete our evaluation form. I'm going to ask my colleague Luna to please put that in the chat for everybody, and also show the slide with the eval. So that should be available, so that you all can complete that evaluation. For those of you who are only attending day 1, please note that in the survey. There is an area to show that in the survey. If you will be attending both days of the summit, then please complete the survey at the end of the event tomorrow afternoon. So again, you should be getting that eval in the chat for everyone. Additionally, for those of you who only registered today, we do have day 2 tomorrow. So please register for day 2. The registration is up in the chat as we speak. So please make sure to register for day 2 if you haven't already. And want to just tell you a little bit about what we'll be talking about tomorrow. So tomorrow we will be talking about best practices for working with neurodivergent clients. We're going to kind of dive into creating a financial education referral program, and we'll end the day with a closing keynote speech from Yaneli Espinal of Miss Be Helpful. So once again, please make sure to complete that eval for today. If you're attending both days, please just complete it tomorrow. We are really looking forward to seeing you again, and thank you for everyone who was on today. You all were amazing and wonderful as far as your participation. We really appreciate your time, and we hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day.
The AFC code.
Oh, forgot the AFC code. Thank you so much for that. So, very important. We want to make sure that you receive your CEUs for day 1 of the summit. So that code is Summit 2026, capital SUMMIT 2026. And we want to make sure there are different codes for each day. So for today, it will be Summit SUMMIT with a capital S 2026. And Veronica, hopefully I didn't miss anything else and everyone has what they need. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone. I hope that you have a wonderful afternoon, and we will see you tomorrow morning. Thank you.